sports fans for your Westshore Rebels. I got a big thumbs up here coming now. Play that funky music. Come on, play that funky music. Get it going. Get it up. Let's see it from here. Let's warm up our feet. Let's warm up our knees. Let's warm up our mouths. This is your team coming out. We want to be the best in Canada. That's right. We want to be the best in BC.
Welcome inside West Hills Stadium on the West Shore in Victoria for the BCFC Cullen Cup, an all-island rivalry. The Vancouver Island Raiders travel south from Nanaimo to take on the West Shore Rebels. The Rebels trying to go back-to-back as Cullen Cup champions, and a spot in the CJFL Final Four on the line here tonight. Dominic Abbasi joined by Paul Short. You're watching BCFCTV.com. And Paul, first of all, the obvious thing is the weather. It's pouring rain. It has been all day here. The field won't be sloppy because it's, of course, the artificial turf, but there's going to be some issues with this downpour, I think, this evening.
Oh, absolutely. There's ball security is number one. Are you going to be able to throw the football, number two? But I think at the end of the day, the teams have been practicing in this all week, so they've got a handle on it. There'll be some issues as far as opening the game, getting used to the wet ball, because it's a new slick football that they'll be using. But I think they're ready for this game, so they'll be looking at it to say, we're ready to go, wet ball or not.
This is a rematch of last year's BCFC semi-final game, which the Rebels beat the Raiders in, the first time ever that the Rebels had beaten the Vancouver Island Raiders in a playoff game. And for my money, the start is a huge factor for this Raiders team. In a hostile environment, they need to get out to a lead early, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee success, because 3 consecutive losses that the Raiders have to the Rebels, they've been leading heading into the fourth quarter in each one of those football games. And Paul, on the other side of things for the Rebels, you've seen them much more than me this season. You know this team well. What are some key factors for this group going into tonight's game?
Well, they have to control the line of scrimmage, and in my opinion, they've got the top offensive line in the league, and they have to be able to run the football. You got to run the football with some authority, and defensively, it's hard to run against the Rebels if you're going to run laterally. So I think at the end of the day, the Raiders should be attacking them straight up, just man up off tackle, man up off the guard, and have some success there. The other key to this game is going to be some kicking. Last week, both kickers weren't very good in the semifinal games with Kyle Clark. I think he missed 2 field goals.
0 for 5 combined, the 2 kickers.
Yes, so that's going to be huge. And this weather tonight could impact that. But again, they're seasoned kickers. They're going to find a way to make this happen.
This is the 4th time in BCFC history that the Island rivalry has clashed in the playoffs. First time ever in a Cullen Cup championship game. The Raiders trying to win their 8th franchise Cullen Cup title, their first since 2013. The Rebels trying to go back-to-back and win their 3rd franchise title. And again, that trip into the CJFL Final Four is on the line here tonight. A lot of energy on the field. The same can be said in the stands. It's going to be a fantastic game as we get another installment of the Island rivalry with the Cullen Cup on the line. A trip into the CJFL Final Four on the line. That is what these teams are focusing on, and also getting their hands on the Cullen Cup trophy. Welcome back inside West Hill Stadium. You see the captains out at midfield as the rain continues to pour down here on this artificial turf field. The Island rivalry. Rebels, Raiders, first time ever playing in a Cullen Cup final. Thanks so much for joining us here on BCFCTV.com, powered by Remax. And we are just about set to go. Paul, and the wait for me has been painful. I can't imagine what it was like for the players trying to prepare all week and have to wait for this game. For me, in recent memory, this is the most intriguing Cullen Cup matchup yet.
Oh, absolutely. This is one that was born in 2006 2005 when the Raiders got a franchise in Nanaimo, and the story goes that the Raiders stole all the Rebel players, but that's not true. It's just the way it worked out because it ended up going through the league.
It's partially true.
Oh, it's partially true, but somebody at the end of the day had to sign a piece of paper to releasing those players. But that's another whole other story that have a lot of different arguments brought forth on it. But no, this is one of those ones that there's a rivalry based on mainly from coaches. The players don't remember any of this stuff. None of them were around. So the coaches will always remind the players that this is both of these teams are supposed not to like each other, and when you come to play football in a Raider-Rebel game, you better strap it on because they're coming full speed.
Have to hand it to all the fans that packed into West Hill Stadium here tonight. It is pouring rain. Half of them are getting absolutely soaked, but they don't care, and nor should they. This is going to be fantastic. The Raiders, James Parker, the all-star kicker in the BCFC this year, will kick the ball away as Heath Edelston, the head referee, gives final instructions to the ball boys here, who will be under a lot of focus, I think, tonight, the ball boys, to keep these balls dry for this football game. The Rebels and their dynamic offense will receive the ball to start this football game. The number 1 seed, 10 consecutive victories, and trying to defend a Cullen Cup title for the home side. And for the Raiders, the number 3 seed coming off an upset, playing a team they have not beaten this season, trying to win a Cullen Cup that this franchise hasn't had since 2013. A trip to the CJFL Final Four on the line as James Parker puts his foot into the ball, and we are underway for the Cullen Cup championship game here at West Hill Stadium, as the Rebels are going to get pretty decent field position to start this football game up around their own 35. The return there from Kane Stevenson out of Ontario.
That was a good return. He just did what you got to do on the opening kickoff when the nerves are flying and the butterflies are flying all over the place. Just get upfield, follow your blocking, and get close to the sideline, because that's where the help's going to be in the event that you have to step out of bounds without taking an unnecessary hit this early.
Scott Borden, the starting quarterback for the Westshore Rebels, the all-star quarterback in the BCFC this season. 48% completion percentage, that's not great, but 2,070 yards, the most in the conference, 16 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. That is a very strong number as he throws a screen pass to Trey Campbell on the first play of this football game, and the Raiders do a nice job of stopping that play. It should be about a 2-yard gain, and Trey Campbell, Paul, for me, is going to be a huge factor in this football game. Led the conference in rushing. The cliche goes, when it's raining, you put the ball on the ground.
Absolutely, and this time of year, you have to be able to run the football, because this conference goes through the prairies, and that's all they know how to do, and you don't know if you're going to encounter rain, snow, or a combination of both when you get to those places.
Rebels in the red jerseys, the white trim here at home on a 2nd and 9 play. Borden will throw. He looks deep. He's got a man wide open. Incomplete, as that is put on the turf by Brianu Yitna. A normally sure-handed receiver. He was gone for a touchdown.
Well, you can see on the replay that Borden threw a beautiful pass, but
perfect ball.
The corner jumped Nate Skeet, who ran the out. And there you go, wet football right through the hands.
Wow, that was a walk-in touchdown for Brianu Yitna. Instead, it will be a 3rd down punt by the big man, Kent Hicks. And there you see the former University of Manitoba Bison standing about 15 yards deep. A low snap, he scoops it, puts a foot into it, a high kick, and it's a good one, as Hicks averaged 33 yards a punt this season. And here goes Bryson Mayo, the return all-star, up the middle of the field. He's got the kicker to beat, and he'll be pulled down at the 50-yard line of the Rebels, and Bryson Mayo had over 2,000 all-purpose yards this season. And we get an early look at what he can do.
Absolutely. Only in the third person in BCFC history to go over 2,000. But on the replay here, Bryson just used his eyes, found a hole. The guys gave him some good blocks, and he's just got Hicks to beat. You know, Kent's a good football player, so he's going to make tackles. And they're going to have a great starting spot inside the Rebels' 50-yard line.
Jake LeBear's second year out of Terry Fox hands the ball off on the first play from scrimmage for the Raiders, and the Rebels find their way into the backfield. Robbie Lowe's, the former member of the Regina Thunder, coming down from the safety position to get involved in that play. As LeBear's, he knows this stadium well. He almost had an upset win as a rookie here last season in the BCFC semifinal. Lost a 34-29 game, and a ton of experience gained for him and many other players on this young Raiders team. Second and long, LeBear's throws incomplete, and it'll be a quick 2-and-out for the Raiders. And Paul, I talked to Doug Hawking this week about what last year's semifinal meant to the Raiders, because last year the story was they were a young team that probably overachieved, and they almost beat the powerhouse Westshore Rebels in this game, in this building, and you were here for that day. How does that kind of experience carry over?
Well, I think any experience when you're playing in pressure situations carries over. But again, it's a different year. There's different dynamics involved with some of the players. What a great punt.
Nick Hunchak, the all-star punter, drills this back to the 5-yard line, and that'll be a short return by Nate Skeet. And
that was a great tackle as well. But anyhow, so you kind of build on those, but you know, it's a different year. There's different people involved. Circumstances are different. You know, last year was a beautiful evening. Tonight we've got some pretty heavy rain coming down.
Some rain, yeah.
You know, and so, but when you get to the sideline after a 2-and-out, or you throw an interception, or you put the ball on the ground, you just get to the sideline, you're able to talk about it and say, okay, this is last year we did, you know, we had the calm nerves and we did this and did that. So the players understand, okay, we've been in this situation before. And they had this situation last week as well. They had that fourth quarter against the Okanagan Sun where they really had to dig deep.
I don't have the official numbers as Campbell goes off tackle right side and has close to first down yardage. I don't have the official numbers, but I feel like especially at impact positions, the Raiders have more players returning than do the Rebels in that, from that semifinal game. You think about Trey Campbell as a guy on offense who was here last year. Yitna and Skeet were, but Deshaun Greenaway wasn't here. Scott Borden wasn't here for that playoff game either. Second and short. Up the middle. Look like Campbell, and that's going to be close. It'll depend on the spot. Last year, as I said, 34-29, the Rebels beating the Raiders in a semifinal game here. They went on to beat the Okanagan Sun and ultimately lose in the Canadian Bowl final to the Saskatoon Hilltops, as that is a first down, and the first down of the football game for either team. These teams played twice this season as well. The Raiders lost week 2 in Nanaimo 27-25. They lost week 7 22-17. Here at West Hills, as Campbell goes right side and runs hard into a couple of players. Dexter Shea getting bounced there, but he did end up bringing down the Rebel running back. And that's 3 straight games, including the playoff game, that the Rebels have beaten the Raiders. And Paul, that is absolutely flipped on its head from how this has gone, these two teams in this rivalry since 2005.
Oh yeah, because it had been something like up until last year.
I think it was 23 straight wins.
23 straight games, and you know, and that's going to happen. You know, the football is like that. It's not. It never really continues how it's supposed to go, and somebody's going to jump up. And what that does too is it says that the Rebel football team rises to the challenge, and they've accepted the challenge that they know that the Raiders control the island. They've won. They've got 3 Canadian Bowl championships behind them, so they've got to want to match that, and that's what they're doing. The way they recruit and how they're playing the game now is downhill, on the edge, if you will. They're just making things happen, and they want to be able to, you know, represent the island and say, you know, it's not all your control, guys, up in Nanaimo.
Nathan Mayers, the 5th-year man out of Timmins, Ontario, with a great backfield tackle to force a Kent Hicks punt that bounces out of bounds about the midfield stripe, as the Rebels have 2 punts in their first 2 possessions of this football game. For Jake LeBear's, of the Raiders, their quarterback, you know, it wasn't, I think, as much of a progression as he would have liked to have seen this year. His numbers were very similar to last season. Now, he did lead the conference in passing touchdowns with 17, but he also threw the second most interceptions in 9, and he can't afford to throw any of those. He threw 3 in week 7 in this building. I would say he needs to be perfect with the ball today.
Oh, absolutely, and that starts with the offensive line. The line has to protect, as if you're going to throw the ball early, if you're having problems throwing the football because of protection, it all starts there. And I think that's probably been the biggest improvement from game 1 to this game today on what the Raiders have done. But they're coming up against, in my opinion, one of the best defensive lines in the country. They're very, very quick. So they've got a long night ahead of them, and they've got to maintain their composure and remember what the basics of the game are.
You saw Xander Bailey on the carry. He is the feature back today because Rhett Williams, the conference's second leading rusher, is not playing today due to injury. LeBerge on 2nd and 7 throws too far. He had his fullback Dingwell open. And a little bit, perhaps, of a nervous start for Jake LeBerge on his first couple of passes.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying just to throw it in there rather than pass it in there, and you just get a little bit of air underneath it as you're trying to aim it rather than throw it.
The Westshore Rebels went through so much change from last year to this year. J.C. Boyce gone, brand new head coach, a first-year head coach in Charlie Cardelicchia. They lost Jamel Lyles, the league MVP last year. They lost Ashton McKinnon, their quarterback, as well. And they just picked up right where they left off. They won 10 straight games, including a playoff game coming in here. And they were 9-1, a second straight first-place season. Here's a return. There's a flag. There is a flag down. And Brandon Gandyer's return, I think, is going to get called back. Brandon Gandyer took that thing about 75 yards for a touchdown. But there was a flag very early in that return. Let's see if we can pick it up here.
A great punt by Hunchuk. And you can see Gandyer as he gets the ball, and the penalty happens at about right here. And I think it's that guy on his back.
Whenever you see the player sliding on his stomach, that's a giveaway.
And not many guys go swan diving without being with a little bit of help from behind. But again, that's one of those things. You know, even though it's been called back, it's still positive. You've done something positive. Let's build upon it.
Well, hey, put that in the bank for later. We know we can do it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one thing I said. You know, people were asking me all week about the matchup. How do I think the Raiders can win? I said, well, they can't allow, as you see Heath Edelston calling in the block in the back. I said, you can't allow any big plays, any special teams plays like that. You can't turn the ball over. Those were two things that I figured if either of those happened, the Raiders really were in dire straits in this game.
Oh, absolutely. And the penalty situation, they have to take advantage of penalties that the Rebels have that give them scoring opportunities.
The Rebels led the league in penalties this season.
Well, they also set a record for penalties and yardage, and last week they set brand new playoff record.
1,772 penalty yards as Borden throws high into his own sidelines on first down. We're scoreless here about halfway through the first quarter of the Cullen Cup. You're watching BCFCTV.com, powered by Remax. I'm Dominic Abassi. Paul Short by my side. You can send us a tweet at Dom Abassi, DOMABASSI. Would love to know where you're watching the game from, who you are cheering for. Maybe you're a Hilltops fan scouting things out, or a Thunder fan. The PFC final going tomorrow, and the winner of that game will play the winner of this game in the national semifinal. 2nd and 10, Borden in the shotgun, 4 wide receivers top side. Campbell goes that way. They'll throw. Borden hit, drop. Quinton Bowles, the season leader with 11.5 sacks, and he eats big on 2nd down.
Well, this is the type of game that Quinton needs. He led the league in sacks. He was the top defensive lineman in the league.
Top defensive player in the league.
Top defensive player in the league. So he has to lead today. This is the game he has to step up. It's all good and well to have good sacks against the Huskers and the Broncos, but this is the game you need.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say that, because he had 11.5 sacks. He blew the conference away, but 5 of those came against Kamloops in a game where he tied the CJFL record for most sacks in a single game. Kent Hicks from his goal line. Not a great kick, but a good bounce, and this is going to be out of bounds, and another quality field position start for the VI Raiders here. as they will start from inside the Rebel 50-yard line.
But, you know, with the Quinton and his sacks, Kamloops or the Valley play junior football. They're not a midget team, so
they count.
Get sacks, absolutely. But from a caliber standpoint, they're not in the Cullen Cup game, and this is the game that those players, the quarterbacks that are all-stars, the receivers that this is the game you've got to be able to step up at.
The Rebels led the league in sacks this season. And the Raiders were third as Bailey tries to chunk some yards off, and he gets about 5, and there's a flag that comes out late on this play. The Rebels as a team had 32 sacks, first in the league. The Raiders 27, they were second. But the season series was pretty much even as far as sacks for and against. And here we see the Rebels penalized. Adenoso Osarenka penalized for unnecessary roughness, 15 yards and a big 15.
Now that's huge, and these are the type of situation that the Raiders have just been handed 15 yards. That's going to move them inside the Rebels' 30-yard line. This is an opportunity to score some points.
They're within field goal range of James Parker. However, let me put an asterisk on that. He was 0 for 3 last week. The worst game of his season by far, after leading the league and being named the all-star kicker. So after the 15-yarder, 1st and 10 inside the Rebel 30, LeBerge up the seam. North Rainey can't pull it in as that's swatted away, and another flag in the area of what I would think might be holding. We will see. Yeah, that's holding against the Raiders. North Rainey is a player that I had starred in my notes, and he is the Raiders' secondary receiver. It's all about Bryson Mayo with this Raiders offense, but Rainey was second in the team in receiving yards, was second in the league with 6 touchdowns, and last season in that playoff game, Paul, he actually led the Raiders in receiving, had 124 yards receiving against Westshore last October here in a playoff game.
No, he's a good football player, and he's somebody you got to get the ball, because you know they're going to roll the coverage into Mayo's area because he's such a good athlete.
First
Here's
and
a good
20,
call.
Draw play. Xander Bailey with a nice gain. He gets slammed down, but down by contact as he was hit by Byron McKinnon. And yeah, for good reason, a lot of the coverage focused on number 4 in white and red, Bryson Mayo, the outstanding offensive player in the BCFC this season, his second year out of the Canada Prep Academy in Ontario. 805 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. He had 15 total touchdowns and 2,120 all-purpose yards. Scored 5 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. He had 15 total touchdowns and 2,120 all-purpose yards. Scored a touchdown as Gandire made a great play on the ball and has some words for Bryson Mayo. And as much as that was a great play by Gandire, I think LeBerge maybe underthrew that a little.
Well, I think, again, he tried to aim it. He tried to put it up there where it's going to be a jump ball, but he's got a little bit too much air under, and it allows a good defensive back by Gandire just to make plays like that. And he also had 2 receivers in the same area.
This will be a 40-yard field goal attempt, and what confidence showing in your kicker after he has a poor week in Kelowna last week. Coach Hawk goes right back to him. 40 yards, Parker trying to put our first points on the board today. It's got the leg, but it's wide. No good, and it looks like this will be brought out of the end zone, and it is by Manny Menabeo, and it is no points as Parker now 0 for 4 in the playoffs after going 21 of 25 in the regular season.
Again, it's one of those things that the weather could have attributed to that as well. It's, you know, you got a slick ball, your footing, your plant foot could slide a little bit, just change things up. But it was important for the Rebels to get the football out of the end zone there, because you don't want to give up a point even though on a wide field goal you get yourself behind them. In a weather like this game could end up 1-0.
Really fast-paced game here, Paul. They're flying to the line of scrimmage. Change of possessions are moving very quickly as well. Fourth, I should say, offensive possession of the game for the Rebels. They have 3 punts to their credit, and Trey Campbell again, not a lot of running room up the middle there.
Well, this is one of those games that the O-lines have to dig deep and take control of it.
Now the Rebels are without not only their best offensive lineman, an All-Canadian, I believe, from last year,
yes,
and the BCFC's top offensive lineman this year, Christian Kraus, not in the lineup today.
Yeah, apparently he's got a knee injury, and he missed last week's game as well. But they didn't miss a beat against the Rams, but this is a different team. And what makes me note here is the guy, in my opinion, that really has to come up and step up his play in this game is Dexter Shea.
Pass intended for Kane Stevenson, second down. Incomplete. Fans trying to call for a penalty, as in coverage was Josh Paisley, the fourth-year man out of Lethbridge. And Kane Stevenson and the Rebels not going to get the call, and Ken Hicks will come out for a fourth straight punt with 4.5 minutes to go in a scoreless first quarter. Bryson Mayo, Tristan Muir back to return as Kent Hicks directing traffic. He is a character, to say the least. Such a presence to that young man. 22 years old, his final junior football game maybe.
He's such a leader in the change room. Coach Cardelicchia talks about that all the time, how mature he is in the change room, and he's a great leader.
Oh, Mayo wanted to get to that ball. You could see him running for it, but not before it crossed the line and went out of bounds at about the 44-yard line. So, I mean, the field position being owned by the VI Raiders, but the longer they own that without scoring points, does that start to become a negative almost?
Oh, absolutely. It starts to wear on you a little bit. And mentally, you're going to be going, man, what are we going to do to make this happen? And then you start trying to do somebody else's job, or you're trying to do 2 or 3 different things at the same time. But it's all about settle down. Keep your composure, keep your focus, and things will fall in line as a need to be. And everybody just do your own job.
LeBerge to Bailey on first down, left side, nice hole. His best gain of the game as he's into the secondary and down at about the 20-yard line. A 15-plus yard rip by Xander Bailey.
Now this is 90. When he got through the line, as he's working to his left, he makes a great cut back right up the middle. On the replay here, you'll see he runs to the right off the tackle's butt, and then he makes the cut right there, and that just creates the little seam for him to break through it. And then from then on, it's just run as far as you can before you get tackled.
Chris Larson had, it looked like the outside sealed, but Bailey cut it back up in and had a nice gain.
Again, in scoring position, they've got to make something happen here. They had second time knocking on the door.
First down, about the Rebel 20, Bailey. Same play, right side, this time off the back side. It was Larson making the tackle, and Paul, I mean, you're right. You can argue it, but for me, I agree. The Rebels' D-line is the best in this conference. Drouin, former Bishop's Gator, Ken Hicks, former Manitoba Bison. You've got Chris Larson as well. They're men.
Yeah, and they've got a good linebacking crew in behind them, and it's very difficult to run wide on these guys because they're so quick. But like the last game these guys played, the Rebels and the Raiders.
LeBerge, end zone. Touchdown Raiders! What a catch! Unbelievable grab in the back corner of the end zone by Trevor Pellin. One-handed, and the Raiders strike first.
That was a nice pass. You can see LeBerge saw him all the way, and Pellin just into the back of the end zone before he ran out of trouble. You can see LeBerge just put it up. He knows his receivers got tracked in, and it catches it in his left arm. Touchdown, beautiful play.
Pellin had one touchdown catch all season, Paul.
No way, really.
And a huge one here. The fourth-year man out of Grand Prairie puts the Raiders on the board with Parker to add the extra.
Well, they're the visiting team. It's always nice to get up when you're the visitors up early to take the crowd out of it a little bit. And it puts a bit of pressure on the home team. But again, these teams have played this way for the last 3 times, and it's been back and forth with the lead changes. I know the games this year, the Rebels outscored the Raiders 25-11 in the fourth quarter to score both wins. So this game ain't over until the final whistle blows.
Well, and this stat really jumped out at me, Paul. I was doing my homework before the game. The Raiders, including that playoff game last year, have lost 3 straight to the Rebels. They led going into the fourth quarter in every single one of those games.
Yeah.
The playoff game and the 2 games this year, the Raiders had the lead going into the fourth and weren't able to hold on to it. So I cannot imagine that Charlie Cardelicchia and his bunch are going to be phased at all.
No, and that's the way they play. They have that no prisoner attitude. They're going to play on the edge. They're going to take penalties that you'd shake your head at and go, why are you doing that type of stuff?
Charlie has
have confidence.
Been largely unapologetic for the amount of penalties that his team took this season.
Well, yeah, sometimes you have to create a personality, and that's what he's done. He's created a team that he wants everybody to hate. He needs a team that everybody's going to root against. But that's going to motivate those guys. That's going to give them the
Us
juice.
Against the world.
Absolutely.
Baranu Yitna on the kickoff return.
This is a great play by the defender. I didn't get the number, number 7. That was McNally Hardesty.
Evan McNally Hardesty made a good tackle there.
But it's one of these games that you just got to keep plugging away. There's nothing left. If you lose, you're done. So go out and put it on the field. Support your teammates. Work within the team concept, and just see what happens. And by you working hard, good things happen.
Got a tweet here from at Jordan Stovra, former Raider, sending in a tweet saying he's hoping the Raiders pick up this win. Oh boy, Borden got blasted on the option play, and he is very slow to get up. Brody Taylor absolutely blasted the Rebel quarterback, and Doug Hawkins said this very thing to me. He said, if you want to go ahead and run the option, we're going to blast your quarterback.
Oh, absolutely, and as long as it's within the rules, it's allowed. And this is one of the things that the teams get caught up with the Rebels is when they run that option, they're so concentrating on Campbell that they forget that Borden is such a good runner himself.
Oh, Borden can put the ball
pinch
on the ground. 47 rushes, 321 yards, and 2 touchdowns with his legs this season. Paul, he was actually the conference's 6th ranked rusher at 321 yards.
He's a tremendous athlete,
Well, he appears to be okay back on his feet here on 2nd and very long. He's got a little bit of time, throws over the middle to Greenaway, but that won't be enough for the first down as the former York University Lion pulls that one in over the middle. And I would expect a punt from the Rebels here on 3rd down. We have 1:10 to go in the first quarter. 7-0 on a 20-yard touchdown strike. Jake LeBerge to Trevor Pelland in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that last play was just had about a 3rd, 4th look for Borden as he's looking for guys covered, and the Greenaway was just open over the middle, unfortunately only for about 7 yards. But it was small enough. It was a chihuahua down there he was picking up off the ground.
Not a bad pickup. Ken Hicks high to Mayo at the 50, dropped the ball, got it, and got taken down by Chris Larson. Love what I see from Chris Larson. That kid is a baller.
Oh, he can play, and you see on the replay here, he's one of the first guys down for a defensive guy that's just on the field constantly. And on this one, Mayo, definitely tried to look it in and saw Larson coming. I think he just took his eyes off the football. And it's better to secure it, take the ball where you are, because they've so far been winning the field position more.
5 possessions, 5 punts for the Rebels so far. The Raiders with their worst starting field position of the day at their own 45 here. Xander Bailey, you see the deep back under center LeBerge. Rebels show blitz on 1st down. They will come with pressure. Bailey, left side. Larson can't bring him down, and it is about 8 yards on a 1st down carry. Are you surprised at how effective the Raiders are being at running the ball right now?
No, they had the same success both times they played them this year. They were able to run up the middle, had good success doing that. But you still have to throw the football. It's Canadian ball. You got 3 downs to make 10. You got to be able to put the ball in the air. But on a day like this with the rain falling down, you better have your 1st down play if you're running the football, picking up a good 6 to 7 yards as a minimum.
Raiders averaged 120 yards rushing per game against the Rebels this season. LeBerge under center on 2nd and very short. Handoff. Bailey, I don't know if he got it.
That's pretty close.
One referee has it, and the other doesn't.
And another tackle by Chris Larson.
And we have a Rebel down here. Who's that?
It looks like number 96 Ingram, I think it is.
Yeah, Leonardo Ingram is down. He looks to be in a decent amount of pain.
He had some problems earlier in the year with ankle. And
let's see if we can see where he got to here on the replay.
Oh, I see. He got trapped by number 50, Ryan
Let's see,
Decker.
He got to about the 54-yard line. That's actually not a great spot, and I think he's short. As you see Ingram down.
Yeah, he got trapped by Decker and
Decker's
just rolled over on his knee.
Veteran guy in his final year. So an injury timeout. There are zeros on the score clock here. As you see Charlie Cardelicchia in there trying to comfort his big man up front. The Rebels trying to win their third Cullen Cup in franchise history. 2003, the little team that could from Victoria went up to the Apple Bowl and shut out the Okanagan Sun 20-0. But for some reason, I always remember that game. I don't know what it is, Paul.
Oh, I think somebody was playing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. I remember being there, but
yes.
it wasn't me playing.
And then 2016, last year, the Rebels beat the Okanagan Sun here. For the Raiders, much different history with the Cullen Cup. The Raiders are trying to win their 8th Cullen Cup title, but they haven't won it since 2013. 6 in a row between 2006 and 2011. They converted that into 3 Canadian Bowl titles, and they are the winningest team in BCFC history at the national level. As you see Ingram now helped up, but I don't know if he's going to be able to make it off the field under his own power.
Yeah, it looks like definitely a knee. It's a shame.
There's a piece of that vaunted Rebel D-line that I don't know if we're going to see him again today.
That's one of the things. A 10-game season on a regular season is really hard on the players. That's a long time to be playing football and putting your bodies to the abuse that you do in a football game. And then you add the 2 playoff games in, and by the time the champion from the BC League goes out to the Prairies, they've already played 13 games if they have an exhibition game, while the Prairies are, working on their 8th or 9th game.
That is true. And that matters.
It does.
That certainly means something. You think at 2 extra games, what does that mean? Oh, that's a lot. And what did they do with that measurement? Did we see?
Yeah, it was just short. It looked like they came up about a foot short.
So now decision time for Doug Hawking here, right about midfield, facing third and very short. You'd like to think you can get that, considering the defense has to give you a yard in the Canadian game, but considering how this game is going, do you take the risk? And I think this is a moot conversation because Jake LeBerge and the Raider offense is on the field right now.
I don't agree, to be honest with you, even though it's less, it's inches, but I don't,
There's more to lose than there is to gain.
Absolutely.
Here for me.
In a night like this, it has to be field advantages. You got to take advantage of those. And punting the ball here is going to put the Rebels deep again, and you get another opportunity to get the ball back maybe deeper in their end. 7-0
Raiders after the first quarter of this football game. Jake LeBerge to Trevor Pellin for 20 yards in the back of the end zone. Pellin matching his season total in touchdowns here.
Well, this is the one that LeBerge has to keep the football. You can't hand it off because the handoff will be too deep. And the Rebels D-line, again, they're good, but you got to get the push from the guys in white. You got to get off the ball.
Literally inches that the Raiders need. They'll go for it on 3rd down. And I think they have it. Now it's going to depend on the spot. Both teams are pointing either way.
The official number 34 came running in, and he had a beeline down the line, and looked like where he was running definitely going to be 1st down.
See if you can follow LeBerge in the middle of this humanity here.
I think they got to measure again. If I'm the officials, I'm measuring again. That's pretty close.
That's not a great spot, Paul, is it?
No, it's not. And you don't want to look back on a decision like this later in the game, but still, I think early in a game, in a tight game, in this weather conditions, I think you punt the football.
This is a huge measurement here, Paul. This is meaningful stuff.
Absolutely.
It would give the Rebels great field position. It's a 1st down
on that one.
By the football. Wow. Incredibly tense there. And I'm sure Doug Hawking was a little bit tense in that situation for sure. But it's a fresh set of downs.
As he's standing next to us up here is BCFC Media Director Blake Roberts, and he's here to witness the game, being a Cullen Cup game. And did you know that he used to be the deputy commissioner of the CJFL?
I did not know that.
He was, and he's a shepherd of Chihuahuas.
That is correct. He is a small dog lover. Timeout Raiders here as you are watching BCFCTV.com, powered by RE/MAX the Cullen Cup championship game. The winner of this one will move on to face either the Regina Thunder or the Saskatoon Hilltops. The Prairie champion will be crowned tomorrow. That game kicking off, if my time conversion is correct, at 2 o'clock our time. Out in Ontario, who will host the Canadian Bowl this year, London at Hamilton, Ottawa at Windsor. The two games were played today, and I actually didn't look up the scores before we went on the air, but those are finals, so we should be able to know.
Yeah, there was Hamilton beat London, I think it was 44-7, and the halftime score, I think it was 21-9 for Windsor over Ottawa.
Windsor is the top seed. They were 7-1 this year. Their only loss was to a Prairie team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, the Ontario Conference is kind of like a mystery. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's their first year back after 3 playing with overage players, so they're going to have some good football players out that way. But junior football is a little bit different, and it takes a while to get used to that age group again.
Play action. LeBerge breaks a tackle. He's going to run. Slides down over midfield. Brings up second and short. The last time I remember a BC team playing Windsor would have been the Raiders. 2013, the year they played the semifinal in Ontario, and they really spanked Windsor.
Yes. Yeah, that Windsor it was funny because it was like the tale of two types of games. Windsor came out figuring that they're going to stomp them, and they were doing all this stuff. And then in the next week when the Raiders beat Windsor, the Raiders went into the Canadian Bowl and did the same type of stuff against Regina. And Regina, like the Raiders did the week before, just looked at him. So what are you doing?
Xander Bailey unceremoniously put on the turf there by Byron McKinnon. That was a vicious tackle there. And that was a second down play as well.
Now, again, that's just the Rebels not allowing themselves to be blocked. And the Raiders, sometimes you get a little lazy. You know, you have some success and you stop your feet and the ball carrier isn't where he should be. So he's going to, pick up a small gain or no gain at all because you stop your feet moving. 3rd and a yard,
and Nick Hunchak will come on to punt. And Charlie Cardelicchia, I think his quote to me this week in the coach's interview was, "We beat him up." And he felt that despite the close scores in the 2 regular season meetings between these two teams, it was his team that was dominant, and he felt that they really beat up on the Raiders. And he actually said to me that he felt that the Raiders may be fearful coming into this game because of how physical the Rebels were. Now, who's to say whether that's posturing or a fact, but I will say, I mean, you see Xander Bailey getting whipped there with his helmet coming off. The Rebels are a physical football team, but I know Doug Hawking says the same thing about his defense.
Oh, absolutely, and Coach Hawking's not going to allow that to interfere with any of how he coaches or how the players think or what they do. Both teams are very physical, and just the nature of this game, because of the rivalry, the close rivalry, it's going to be a physical game regardless.
Neither coach would really touch the rivalry stuff this week. They both stayed well away from it. They both said, hey, look, it's just a football game, and it's a football game we need to win to move on to our next goal. So they both handled it very professionally and really quite boringly, to be honest, from a media perspective. They didn't want to get into that stuff too much.
And also, it does get boring after a while. It's tiring because so many stories come through that just aren't true, and you're getting all riled up about something that somebody made up.
Second down, 9 yards to go. Borden will throw over the middle, incomplete. That pass was too far, intended for Andre Murphy, who was open, but it falls incomplete. And 6 possessions and a 6th punt on the way for the Westshore Rebels.
Yeah, you can see here with Scott, the ball definitely got out of his hand, and he's throwing a wobbly ball that
the duck
just can't get your spiral on it to put some pinpointed.
I talked to Mr. Abbott, as I call him, Sir Abbott, really, the senior official in these parts before the game, and I said, what changes when the weather's like this? What goes into it? And he said, really, there's not a lot we can do. We try our best. We have extra dry towels. We try to change the ball out every single play, but on a day like this, with the rain relentlessly pounding down, there's not much you can do. Here goes Bryson Mayo. There is a flag down, so this return will likely be negated.
Yeah, it was a hold right on the far side, right as soon as he picked the football up.
And Bryson Mayo is... Mayo, I mean, he didn't really get going against the Rebels on special teams this year. He certainly had success through the air in the 2 meetings this season, as he put up 217 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. But the Rebels were able to limit his special team abilities.
Ooh, sorry. That was not a hold at the face mask penalty against the Rebels.
Wow, so not only will the return stand, they're going to march them ahead 15 yards down to the 21.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting because where the cloth hit the ground there, I thought for sure it would be holding because as soon as he picked the ball up,
that's
and
the spot
that's what
you
you're looking
see
at.
those for
Absolutely.
sure.
So I guess the cover guy had his hands up in the face and grabbed the mask of the blocker. And
the Raiders leading by 7, 4 minutes into the second quarter, will pass on first down, complete to North Rainey. The Nanaimo product dropped the ball, and then the Raiders recover, and getting blasted there was Alex Bonnetplume, who made a nice recovery after North Rainey put that ball down.
Yeah, it was an interesting play. He was wide open, he makes the catch, and he didn't see the tacklers come in at the end of the play, and then just that collision on his back on the hip just makes the ball pop out.
That was Gandire who came flying through there.
He's a good football player.
What a player he is.
He is a very good football. I'm surprised he didn't make the All-Star team.
He is a treat to watch. Yeah, the Rebels really felt like they were slighted in the league awards and the All-Stars.
Well, it's one of those.
Second down,
nice play.
Throwing end zone. Touchdown Raiders! Bryson Mayo, the outstanding offensive player, makes it a 2-score lead.
Yeah, that was just, I think it was an out and up, and he just was not open, but he had a step or two on the defender. And LeBurge just put the pass where it had to be, and the only guy that's going to catch it is
he wasn't even in the screen when the pass was thrown.
Yeah, and the only guy that's going to catch that is Bryson, or it's going to be incomplete.
And he gets him behind the defender.
And on the replay, there was no replay asked for, so it was a good score.
Eddie Nyong'o, yeah, we didn't have to go to review on that one. Eddie Nyong'o was beaten around the backside by Bryson Mayo. He had 15 total touchdowns this season.
Another ball into the pond for the Alligators.
And the Raiders lead 14-0. Bryson Mayo last week against the Okanagan Sun had 5 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, scored both of the Raiders majors on that day, and he gets them up by 2 scores here.
He's special, that kid. You know, you always see these guys come around, and they're great receivers or a great running back, and nothing against anybody, but Bryson's the full package. He can return kicks. He's a good receiver. They used him as a running back here and there. And he's one of those guys, like, and I look at like a James Green with the Okanagan Sun.
Sure.
Or a Nick
Great
Downey.
comparisons.
Yeah, but James is the best comparison to him. But, you know, the guys, like a Nick Downey.
I never found Nick Downey to be a prolific receiver. I know he had the speed, and he was arguably the greatest return man ever to play in this conference. I never found him to be a prolific route runner, but James Green certainly was a nightmare for anywhere he was near the ball.
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't want to see him touch the football. Went on to play in the CFL as well, the Okanagan Sun alumni, as the Rebels will start their 7th drive of the football game just outside their own 30-yard line. They have 6 punts, and this is not what this team will be used to. They scored 31 points a game in the regular season, and on offense, they put up, on average, 420 yards a game.
Yeah, they've got a good offensive package out there. And again, it's early. The Rebels have been in these situations before, and it's frustrating, as a Rebel right now, but you know that the game has still got 40 minutes left.
Raider fans make it loud in the stands. They run a reverse handoff here to Kane Stevenson. Spin play, beats a man. This is a huge gain. Could he go? Kane Stevenson down the sideline. Touchdown Rebels! What a play! Unbelievable, Kane Stevenson, 80 yards.
That was a great run. He's done that. He did it earlier this year with a 103-yard run in one of the games. And he's got that deceptive type speed. You see where he comes around here, and he's got big number 73 putting Tyson Thompson leading the way.
Spin move on Dexter Shea, a former All-Canadian linebacker, whiffed.
Yeah, and he's got the speed, and just keep your feet moving, and good things are gonna happen.
There's the big play the Rebels needed.
Well, it's one of those things now that you're on the scoreboard, you go, hey, okay. We're back to where we gotta be. Now the Raiders' chance here to get the football back, and they gotta answer. They have to do something positive by using up the clock, or at least coming away with a field goal.
You know, I went through all of my prep work, and I combed through the stats, and I have background information and stats on almost every player on the Rebels offense, and Kane Stevenson didn't hit my sheet just because he didn't have the accumulated yardage in receiving or rushing, but he has that big play potential.
Yes.
You talk about that 100-plus yard touchdown run he had earlier in the year. He came to join this team later in the season out of Ontario, I believe Windsor, and he is a game-changing skill.
He's a good athlete, and he just complements what the Rebels already have. And he is so good at running the football on the reverses and his speed alone is going to give you some good positive yardage.
And that spin move he put on Dexter Shea in the middle of the field, oh boy. And Dexter Shea's no joke.
No kidding.
He's a fifth-year former All-Canadian, led the conference in tackles last year, and he was left hugging air. And Kane Stevenson went 80 for a touch. Mayo waits for his blocks, and he'll be pulled down inside the 30-yard line.
Well, this is the Raiders' worst starting point, I think, at this point.
Yeah, you're right about that. Previously, it was their own 45. So the Rebels get their first score of the game. They cut the lead in half to 14-7. And now the Raiders will scrimmage deep in their own end for the first time today.
Well, here's where you test yourself now. You've got a long field in front of you, and 10 minutes left till halftime. You got to do something positive, maintain your composure.
First down, handoff, Bailey, boy, he hasn't been put down anything but hard all day.
Oh yeah, if they were playing on grass, there's so many guys tackling him, and his breath would smell like earthworms when he gets up. He's got a, man, oh man.
Chris Larson just extending into the
now we got a flag down here.
Diminutive Raider running back as well.
Sorry, no flag.
No flag, they waved that off. So it'll be second and change. We just got a tweet, Paul, how about this? From none other than Mayor Bill McKay from Nanaimo. The mayor of Nanaimo sending us in a tweet. He's watching on BCFCTV.com, powered by Remax. And he is a devout Raider supporter.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Not devout enough to force the city to build the Raiders a new stadium, but he's getting there. Second and 5, LeBear's in trouble. He goes down. It's a sack.
Jeremy Drouin.
Jeremy Drouin, the 22-year-old in the backfield, former Bishop Gator, and he is a load, and he gets home.
He's a bull rusher. He just keeps going. His motor never stops. And when
he come in late,
grabs you, he puts you down.
He is look at the build. He is a prototypical defensive lineman, isn't he?
Absolutely.
If I saw him out in public, I'd say, oh, that guy's a defensive end.
Yeah, well, and he's not real tall, but he's wide. So if it's sunny out, you stand next to him, you're going to be in the shade. So that's a nice punt.
Wow, gorgeous kick. Gandire misplayed it. Did he touch it? Is this a live ball? I don't think it was, but he slides down on it back at his own 30-yard line. I don't know if that was a live ball or not.
No, it sure looked like, to me, it looked like it went through his legs and then changed directions when it went through his legs. But again, hard to tell because you'd have to slow it right down, isolate it.
Well, either way, that'll swing the field position in a big way. As you see the scoreboard there, Raiders in the lead. You can't really get a great feel for it on TV, but it is still pouring rain here.
It is very wet.
It's not the kind of rain where it's like just a shower. I was down walking into the stadium for 5 minutes and I was drenched.
Oh, it's a wet rain. A
wet rain.
Wet rain for sure.
Campbell trying to stretch this out. Oh, nice tackle. Gets his leg scooped out at the last second there.
With Tyler Hill, and that was a good tackle. And again, that's something the Rebels like to do. They want to try to stretch you and create holes as they're making the blocks, and it's going to allow lanes for Campbell cut,
Boy.
and you've got to be very, very patient to get up there.
That's a good tackle there against a guy who is very hard to bring down. Trey Campbell led the league in rushing, 814 yards, 9 touchdowns this season. 6.5 yards per carry he averaged. Second and about 6 here over the middle, picked off, intercepted by the Raiders. That's Sean Arabsky, and he'll bring that back. Arabsky had 2 interceptions last week against the Sun. He gets one here. Our first turnover of the football game.
This ball just sailed on Scott and was over top of Nate Skeet, number 23. Arabsky's right there as he's supposed to be as a safety. You want to be deeper than the deepest receiver.
Sean Arabsky is an interesting story. He is a Nanaimo product. Actually went to junior college to play baseball. And this is his first year back playing football.
A bonus.
And Doug Hawking loves what he brings to the secondary. He had 3 interceptions in 10 games in the regular season. He's got 3 in 6 quarters in the playoffs. Raiders deep, leading by 7 halfway through the second quarter. They'll go to Bailey, left side. And again, you know, Xander Bailey's not getting big gains.
A flag down here.
Flag comes in late. Xander Bailey's not getting big gains, but he's being effective enough, I think, for the Raiders to be happy about their running game.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, again, you don't put too much on a new back that's in the backfield or a back that doesn't play that much. You just give them something simple. But here, you know, you nullify a decent gain to put you in a manageable second down with a talking penalty. And that's a shame.
Wow.
And those are things that you can't do.
Objectionable conduct against the Raiders. So instead of second and manageable, it is second and very long. Getting some more tweets here from Tarek Bryant, former VI Raider offensive lineman, watching live from Bishop's University. We have some more tweets rolling in. Be sure to send yours in at Dom Abbasi as well. So second and long from the Rebel 35. Play action, in trouble, LeBerge. Oh, he gets away from one and then throws it out of bounds. Pretty good stuff there from LeBerge just to get away.
Oh, man, yeah, he was like a kid being chased down because he had the Smarties in his pocket or something like that, because these guys just were on a mission to get a hold of him. But he had a good straight arm
Chris
here.
Larson trying to get in there. Marcus Brown as well.
Oh, yeah, he got Marcus Brown with the straight arm, and that kind of saved him. It allowed him to throw the ball out of bounds.
You can see LeBerge having a few words with the Rebel sideline after he let go of that ball.
Oh, I'm sure there's some talking going on over there.
Oh.
If we had a microphone, they wouldn't hear us.
We wouldn't be able to turn it on, I'll tell you that. I like this call by the Raiders here. They're going to punt.
Yep.
Instead of going for a 39-yard field goal, they're just going to pound this ball into the end zone. Gandire goes back. He's going to get it out, but he's going to be pulled down at about the 2-yard line.
McNally Hardesty was wide open on that on the right-hand side, and if Punchuk saw that, he could have thrown it and he would have run in for a touchdown.
The Raiders had a huge, not on purpose, an accidental fake punt in the fourth quarter against the Sun last week.
Yes.
That was huge in them winning that game. Of course, any Sun fans watching this game right now fully believe, and I was reading all the media coverage coming out of there all week, that, I mean, for lack of a better word, they got screwed, is what they believe. And it's a tough one on that late game roughing the kicker penalty.
Absolutely. But when I saw the replay, my first thought was, well, he didn't hit the ball. The kick,
he did not.
Punchuk didn't have an opportunity for his leg to follow through. That's why it looked like the ball was blocked. But again, I had only the same look that everybody else had.
Here's Trey Campbell. That is probably his best run of the day as Quinton Bowles wraps him up about 8 yards on first down for Campbell. Campbell, we talk about Bryson Mayo and everything he did. Trey Campbell, when you put it all together, he had 1,045 total yards of offense.
Oh, he's
the most in the conference this season.
The most dynamic running back in the league for sure.
Here he goes on second down. He gets hit hard, but I think he got it over the yard to gain.
Yeah, it looked like first down.
Campbell in his second year as a Rebel out of Toronto, a former York alumni. He's 22 years old. And it is a first down as you hear the fans here in the building applauding that.
We got a full house tonight. It looks nice. It's nice to see that.
What an atmosphere, Paul.
Oh, awesome.
This is junior football in BC right here. 1st and 10 at the 30. Borden in the shotgun, looks left, throws right, got Nate Skeet open, knocked down. Sean Arabsky in the area, could have picked it. I thought Nate Skeet was wide open.
Well, I thought Nate was offside. When the ball was snapped, I thought the official was going to throw a flag because it looks like he's over the line. He's right there in the middle of your screen. See him at the bottom of
your screen here. Yeah, he was a bit.
And again, it looked like Scott just kind of floated it up there.
Look at Arabsky close on that ball. He should have had it.
And that's what a safety is supposed to do, be around the football.
So 2nd and a full 10 here for the Rebel offense. Down by 7, 5 and change to go in the first half. Play action. Borden over the middle, Nate Skeet incomplete. And Skeet, another one of these 22-year-olds on this Rebel offense out of Halifax. Former Prince Andrew Panther, unable to pull that in.
He's had the last few games he's played, he's been the main man for the Rebels. Last week,
he went
off
all
over the place.
He went off last week, 134 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Rams in that blowout win for the Rebels as they had their way with the Langley Rams 57-14.
And even the game between the last game of the year against the Sun, he had a very good game. He was wide open. He runs such good crisp routes.
Kent Hicks to punt. Ooh, almost blocked. Mayo hauls it in at the 50, won't have much room. You can see Kent Hicks trying to squeeze Bryson Mayo to the sideline.
Well, that's your friend. When you kick the ball close to the sideline is going to make a tackle because you're going to step out of bounds and to take a good returner out of the game right away.
Raiders will start at midfield. They're scoring plays, both passing touchdowns. Jake LeBerge from 20 yards to Trevor Pellin. Jake LeBerge from 18 yards to Bryson Mayo. One late in the first quarter, one early in the second, and then it was an 80-yard romp by Kane Stevenson that put the Rebels with romp by Kane Stevenson that put the Rebels within 7 points here. First down, counter pull action. I don't know
straight ahead.
How many times have the Raiders thrown on first down? Like maybe
not many.
A couple.
I think they did at the beginning of the game, but I think they were so unsuccessful with it that they started to put the ball on the ground. And that's a good thing. You got to get the O linemen involved on every down. And O linemen love moving forward, blocking guys.
Second down. Raiders need about 5. 3 wide receivers top side. Double play action. Throw over the middle, incomplete. Not a great pass there, as it was behind Trevor Pelland.
Yeah.
And it'll bring up another punt from Nick Hunchak.
Yeah, Robbie Lowe's was right on top of that one.
Robbie Lowe's is a guy, came over mid-season from Regina. Charlie Cardelicchia was ecstatic about adding Robbie Lowe's to this team, said he's a physical, nasty safety, knows how to win in the prairies. And it was funny because Charlie said to me, and this was like week 4 maybe, he said, one thing I love about Robbie Lowe's, he hates the Saskatoon Hilltops. Maybe looking way down the line was the Rebel coach, but he's a lot closer to that now. Here's Gandire from his 10, shakes a tackle, he'll go down at the 20.
That's not bad. That was a good tough return there by Brendan. Just move upfield, get what you can get. That was another punt, great punt by Hunchuk. You can see why he was named the punter in the BCFC.
So good. He averages 38.5 yards per punt. And at this level, you know, Paul, that's a huge number.
Absolutely. I think anytime you get over 35 in junior football, you're doing okay. And the real good ones are going to be close to 40.
Hunchak has that next level kicking ability.
Yes.
You can see the way the ball comes off his foot. It's special. And the Raiders are, I think, in the minority in being a team that carries a dedicated punter and kicker. And when you only have 40 roster spots in the playoffs, that's meaningful.
Oh, absolutely, because, you know, usually your extra guys in the 40 are going to be linemen.
First down. Rebels down by 7.
There's that play, the same play they ran to Kane for the touchdown. They ran to Nate Skeet. just going the other way.
Quentin Bowles had that one scouted out. The former University of Manitoba Bison, the Winnipeg product, in his final year of junior football, deep in the backfield to make the play. And, well, actually, excuse me, it was not deep in the backfield. They have it marked as 2nd and 9 here. I thought he was gone in the backfield.
I thought he was in the backfield too. But the way the play is developed, it's moving forward, so
it's very shallow play.
Very, very shallow.
So the Rebels need 9, deep in their own territory, nearing the 3-minute warning. They trail by 7. Raiders will drop in coverage with only 4-man pressure here on 2nd down. Borden with time. Now he's flushed. He's trying to run for the first time today. Leaps a man and gets rocked down. Short of the first down as Scott Borden goes aerial. The last thing you want your quarterback to do.
Oh, absolutely. But Borden's such a great athlete. He just, here nobody's open. He says, I'm getting pressure, I'm out of here.
Was that a designed run, Paul?
I don't think so, but I think he's given the green light on a lot of that stuff. If it's nobody's there, just take off.
We just got word that the All-Stars and Major Award winners will not be receiving their trophies at halftime, as is typical, because, well, it's miserable.
It's wet.
It's gross out there.
Wet.
Seems to be maybe a clock issue here. There you see Shane Beatty in the middle of your screen, the defensive coordinator, and in the foreground, John Kardalicki, and beside Shane Beatty was Charlie. Shane Beatty, the former Okanagan Sun head coach, came over here as the D coordinator. And John Kardalicki, I mean, is there a name more synonymous with Rebel football?
Not even Rebel, just but football in Victoria. He's been very instrumental in a lot of levels of ball here. Very well-loved guy as far as coaching, and he's an all-around good guy. He's just one of those guys, you feed off his energy, and he does a lot of positive things for football in the Victoria region. Coached
at the next level with UBC as well. There's a great kick from Ken Hicks, a boomer. High into the night sky. Doesn't get a great bounce, though, and out of bounds about the 50.
That was a good one. That was high enough to have a stewardess on it. Holy cow.
They were serving peanuts.
That's right, yeah.
So it'll be Hamilton and Windsor playing next weekend for the Ontario Championship. And the winner of this game will travel to play either Regina or Saskatchewan. Saskatoon, excuse me. The Battle of Saskatchewan, as the winner of the Prairie Conference will be crowned tomorrow. Is that game next weekend, Paul?
Yes, it's on Sunday and with a 1 o'clock local time kickoff.
So no bye week for either team.
The bye week comes just prior for the Canadian Bowl, 2 weeks later.
First down, Raiders starting at their own 50. LeBerge forced to roll, and he's going to throw it away. And increasingly, Jake LeBerge is getting less time to work with. And what'd you see out there, Paul?
Well, I think he didn't get the ball over the line of scrimmage, and they're throwing the flag on that.
Well, he was out of the pocket.
Which is the right call, but he's still got to get the ball past the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
But if the last couple of 3 plays that Jake's dropped back to pass, he's had tremendous pressure and had the bail. And if that continues, you're going to see the Rebels start to take over this football game.
Yeah, you're right.
You got to block these guys. Got to give them time to throw the ball.
And they're not really bringing pressure either, from what I'm seeing. It's up front with the 4 down linemen. So grounding the call, that is a costly penalty.
10 yards and lost it down.
If it's possible, Paul, I think it's raining harder now.
Oh, it's pouring out there.
It is pouring down here. And maybe if you get a look at the lights, you get an idea there now. I mean, it's coming down in sheets here.
Oh, it's really raining.
2nd and 20 after the grounding penalty. 5-man pressure. This time it's picked up. LeBerge over the middle, complete. Ball's down. And they're going to say incomplete pass as North Rainey got popped. I believe Robbie Lowe's put the hit on.
Yeah, that was, again, a crossing pattern. You're running into zones, and somebody's going to jump you as soon as you get into a zone. You can see the coverage is all zone. Nobody's in man-to-man. They're just dropping off. Here comes come across.
It wasn't Robbie Lowe's. It was actually Malik Womack who came in and threw that hit there.
Womack brings the load. He'll rattle some teeth when
Womack,
he hits
in his first year out of Terry Fox, had 22 total tackles in the regular season. Terry Fox, a former
what a punt. Holy.
Teammate of Jake LeBerge. Great kick And unable to handle that was Baranu Yitna. And now he hits the ball. It's loose. It's in the end zone. What's the call here? Who's got it? Raiders say touchdown.
Raiders say touchdown.
What do the refs say?
Officials haven't signaled anything yet. Number 55, Kevin McWilliam, getting a look. Oh, it looks like the Rebels.
Either way, this would be a safety, would it not? Because he touched that outside the goal line.
He didn't really have possession of it, so
it's a single point. Wow.
Yeah, he didn't have possession, and you have to have possession to cross over the line.
Let's get a look at this replay. Yitna had trouble because it was such a great kick. He might have touched it there. He certainly touched it there. It rolls into the end zone. Oh my goodness, the Raiders had a great chance as Travis Novak dove right over that ball.
Yeah, he had a chance. Again, that's just, a wet football, a great punt. It had to be over the lights. That was a really high kick.
Pounded that.
And once the ball gets up in the air, sometimes you just lose it. It jumps into the dark because it's darker up there as it on the field. All the lights are pointed down. And Yitna just had no, here it is again on the replay. It's over his shoulder and off his hands. It went right off his hands. And as he slips here to pick it up.
My goodness. Are the Rebels lucky?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the first wave of the Raiders coming downfield maybe thought he didn't touch it on the first one.
Yeah.
So they gear down a little bit.
We need to give him 5 yards, right? So starting from their own 35, it's a single point. Now 15-7 Raiders with 2:21 to play in the first half. Trey Campbell deep. They'll stuff it to him. The league's outstanding offensive back has about 5 yards. And the Raiders have done a great job containing him. But ultimately, I think Trey Campbell's impact on this game is going to be in the fourth quarter.
Oh, absolutely. And he always takes 1 or 2 players away because they're spying on him. They know he's such a good player. You got to make sure you got people around him that aren't going to let him slip away. So somebody's going to have an eye on him a little bit longer.
What about
on the play here? You got Kent Hicks and Jeremy Duran playing offense in this play.
A couple of defensive linemen in the backfield and a heavy sort of a wishbone set here. 2nd and 5 at the 40. Greenaway the near side. There's only 3 receivers. It's a heavy set package. They're going to pound it, and they're going to get stopped short of the first down. Dexter Shea, the 5th-year man out of John Barsby, the football factory in Nanaimo, run by Rob Stevenson and company. And Dexter Shea has, I think, put the Rebels at decision point here, and I think they're going to leave the offense on the field.
Yeah, this is something that Charlie likes to do.
They go
He's
hurry
done
up
it all year, and they'll follow the same type of play here. They'll follow Kent Hicks on the right-hand side.
2nd and 1, 3rd and 1. He's hit in the backfield, and he's going to go down. It's a turnover on downs.
That's huge.
2nd turnover of the first half. This one on downs.
Well, that one there, the Rebels just didn't get the push, and the Raiders got in the backfield very, very quickly.
Great penetration off the right side. You were right, Paul. It was the same play. And coming through first to get the initial touch was Doug Thornton, who was a late addition to the roster.
Yeah, Doug, he was in the backfield, so he was making the tackle from behind. So that's how quickly he was into the backfield. Now here's an opportunity here for the Raiders to extend their lead that they halftime.
These would be huge points.
And it's a morale thing too. You know, you go in, the Chiefs score a touchdown here, you up 22-7 going into the half. You go in, you're feeling good. It's the change room's got a lot of activity in it, and everybody's talking loud.
The only activity in the change room today is going to be give me a towel.
Yeah, that's true.
Give me a new jersey, which I can tell you doesn't exist.
Yeah, change the socks. And
got a tweet here from Stephanie in Winnipeg. Her and Raider alumni Eddie Panting watching this game, cheering on Jamie Ybarra and Quinton Bowles. You're watching BCFCTV.com, powered by Remax, the Cullen Cup Championship game. Dominic Abassi with Paul Short. So far, it has been pretty much living up to the billing, Paul. We've seen an 80-yard touchdown run, couple of great touchdown catches, some very hard hits.
Well, sometimes
I'd say the rivalry's been managed
yeah,
well.
absolutely. You know, in a game like this, there's been a lot of talk, and I'm sure social media has just been exploding all week about the rivalry, about the history and everything.
I saw your Instagram all week, Paul. You were
No.
firing it up.
But you know, at the end of the day, it's just you got 24 guys on the field. They're the ones that are going to determine what happens, and they're the guys that are playing hard for themselves and for their teammates.
Drouin not
nice
having
play.
that.
Nice play by the Rebels defense. Again, it's hard to run laterally against these guys because they move so they've got such good feet.
Look at Jeremy Drouin control his man and then shed and make a tackle. And Xander Bailey, he wouldn't have gotten away from Drouin there if he had $100 on the line.
Oh, absolutely. No, these guys, they're very strong, upper body. They got great feet, and they got some tremendous linebackers and DBs in behind them.
2nd and 9. This is a big down here with just over a minute left in the half. LeBears pulls the ball down, and he is sacked. And it is Jeremy Drouin again in the mix as he drops the hammer.
You got to protect him. He's having a hard time now staying in there. And then what that does to you, it affects your psyche.
You get jumpy.
You get jumpy, and you want to get out of there. And the protection, it's not bad, but you got to throw the ball. The clock in your head's got to speed up a little bit. And receivers have to recognize that as well, that they've got to get open, and they've got to either shorten the routes up and do some adjustments here because of the less time that he's going to have to throw the football.
4th time ever these franchises have met in a playoff game. Raiders winning in 06, winning in 2011, losing last year, all semifinals. First time ever. It's been an all-island Cullen Cup game.
Yeah, this is history making, really.
A historic game here in Westshore. Thousands, more than 1,000, I would say, here to take this in, although I'm not an
pretty
judge.
close. Yeah.
If not for the absolutely terrible weather, I think we would have seen even more people here.
Well, I always thought it was going to be a smaller crowd than this because of the weather.
Yeah, there's Hunchak.
Another good punt.
Driving another spiral. Gandire from his goal line, dropped at the 10. And how often do you talk about a punter being one of the biggest players of a half of football?
Oh, there's been a handful throughout the history of the league. You know, you can think of a guy. We had one here in Victoria when I was coaching Payless, Earl Best. He had a 41.9 average during the entire season. But we didn't get to a Cullen Cup game. Quinn, I forget what Quinn's last name was. My gosh.
Ben Gilswick.
Yeah, Ben Gilswick. And I apologize, Quinn. Tremendous punter. Scott Dixon with you guys.
Yeah,
with
Scott
the Raiders.
Dixon's
So there have been some. But in this game tonight, Hunchak is changing the field position. Every time he punts, he's changing field position greatly. It's not a 30-yard punt. These are 40 to 45-yard punts every time.
Rebels have had 11 offensive possessions in this half as Campbell gets a nice hole here into the secondary up over the 25. 11 offensive possessions for Westshore. They have 8 punts, a pick, a turnover on downs, and then the 80-yard touchdown run by Kane Stevenson.
This is a nice play. See on the replay here, it's just follow the guys up front, a little cross block.
A lot of room there.
Yeah, and again, the Raiders are playing a little soft. They don't want to give up something big before halftime, so there's going to be coverage.
50 seconds left in the half. Borden throws. This is dangerous, and it drops down incomplete.
Yeah, Paisley almost had an opportunity for an interception there, and with 46 seconds left, it would have been a golden opportunity for the Raiders.
Josh Paisley, he led the entire conference in defensive points last season in his 4th year out of Lethbridge, Catholic Central High School product, and he missed a lot of this year with an elbow injury. I believe a dislocated elbow early in the year. This one's intercepted, and a chance for a run back towards the end zone. Nathan Mears pulled down at the 5-yard line.
And Nathan just stepped in front of that, and it was a pass I thought Borden shouldn't have thrown because he was thrown into deep coverage, but that was a great play by Nathan to bring him down. He puts the ball on the 6-yard line. They've got an opportunity here for a full set of plays. You can see on the replay, yeah, he just underthrew it, and he's throwing it into a lot of white jerseys. There's not a lot of red guys there.
Last time the Rebels threw a pick in their own end of the field, it did not cost them, as Arabsky intercepted, but it ended up in a punt. this one from the Rebel 5-yard line. 35 seconds left on the clock. The Raiders have, I believe, 1 timeout remaining. And this is huge.
It's a golden opportunity here to increase your lead. You got to come away with points. That's got to be the goal, regardless what happens.
Bailey,
you got to come with points.
Cut back. He's hit hard at the goal line. The ball came out loose, but Bailey is being ruled down.
Yeah, they've got a clock will start on the officials.
Is that Drouin again in the middle here?
Well, he had the hole. It was just, man up. You got the number 39 leading.
Drouin come in and make the tackle. Unbelievable.
Oh, boy, that ball came out after when he was down, but yeah, Drouin again. They're getting the push into the D line now, but they're not completing it. The guys are expecting more of a stronger effort from the Rebels.
2nd and goal. Bailey. What's the ruling here?
Oh, they didn't get it.
They're going to call him down at the inch-yard line. Wow.
Yeah,
he reached out after, yes. But I think he was down. Now there's a conversation. Let's see the replay
you can
here.
See on the replay here that I think his butt was on the ground before he reached the ball over because he was on his back. He's turned around. Yeah, he was definitely
I don't know,
down.
Paul.
No, I think he was down. I'm not going to, Robbie Lowe's is in there to say no. Robbie's closer to the play than we are. But I think at the end of the day, he had his butt was on the ground, and then as soon as his butt hits the ground and he's holding the football as a running back, it's going to be into your stomach. Again, on the replay, you'll see as the ball will be closer to his stomach as he's going down. Then his bum hits the ground, he puts the ball over.
Goal line is at the bottom of your screen there.
Yeah. The ball was closer to his stomach at that time.
That's very close, but
I didn't see who got injured there. Who was the player down?
It looks like that could be Chris Larson, I think, down there. Yeah, it is. I think that's Chris Larson, number 7. Paul, what do you do here? 3rd down.
I'm taking points.
Goal.
I'm taking the points. I'm going to kick the field goal.
James Parker is in the huddle and on the field.
But you never know. Hey, maybe Doug's got something up his sleeve, a little fake or something. Would he do that?
No.
Doug's never been that type of guy.
Doug hates that stuff.
Well, maybe that's the time to do it. They're not going to expect it because they know you don't like doing it. So
this will be about a 9-yard field goal attempt. But remember, James Parker hasn't hit a field goal yet in the playoffs. He's 0 for 4.
Oh, this is similar to a convert, a little closer than a convert. So this is something maybe boosts his confidence a little bit if he gets this.
21 seconds in the half. Clock runs, snap good, hold good, kick good. 18-7. Raiders have the lead.
Well, that's a good first half for the Raiders. They probably stuck to their game plan. Well, obviously, we don't know what the game plan was, but they moved the ball. They had great success moving the football. They kept tilting the field with Hunchuk's punting. The only problem they had was they're having a little bit of trouble in the last few series protecting LeBurge, and that's got to be something they've got to fix at halftime.
I know I talked about this earlier. It's such an important stat to me, the fact that the Rebels have beaten the Raiders in fourth quarter comebacks 3 straight games. And I'm not sure if the Raiders are aware of that or not. As you get an idea of the conditions here right now, they are just ugly. But Paul, I'm sure that somebody on either side knows that comeback stat. You
Absolutely. Absolutely. And coaches know that. Some of the players will know that. There's guys that are on the field that are nuts like us that just love the history and how this game unfolds. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to make sure you just come to play, do what you have to do, and they're just like that. Paisley making a tackle there, doing what he has to do. Just do your job. But yeah, you have to let the kids play. And just keep reinforcing the positive and making sure that they understand that what the down is. It's second down, and what did we practice against? What do the Rebels do on second down? What do the Raiders do on second down? Everybody knows by looking at film and with the scout teams and everything what teams do. Just do your job. And I think if the team that does their job the best in second half, and again, you got to hold on to the ball because of the weather conditions, and no silly penalties. should come out of this game victors.
10 seconds to go in the half. We'll see what the Rebels do here. Down 11 from their own 30. They'll stuff it into the hands of Trey Campbell. And we will see one more play, I would think, in this half. And then head off to the locker rooms. And I got to give a shout out, by the way, to the Rebels cheer team. They are at field level, and they have been there the entire half, Paul. These poor young girls just getting soaked by the rain.
They're going to be putting on a display at halftime.
Campbell with a nice rip to
a nice
end
run to end the half.
The first half. So the Vancouver Island Raiders with an 18-7 halftime lead here at West Hill Stadium. Paul, are you in any way surprised by this scoreline?
No, not really, because I've seen it in the last few games with the way that the Rebels play ball. They just kind of, I don't know, they dance around, they throw jabs, not really punching you. And then in the second half, they kind of say, let's come and play, it's our turn now.
You know, it's funny because I had the same thought, and I didn't know if I could fully assume that Charlie Cardelicchia would be gutsy enough to all play rope-a-dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is an element of that, a feel to that, isn't there?
Oh, that's the way they played all year. You know, they'll come out and they'll be down 20 to 7, 10, 18-7 like they are tonight, and they'll play a third quarter full of silly penalties, but they start to control the game as the game progresses. And then the fourth quarter, they're a whole different team. They have that confidence, you know. But they're playing a good Raiders team tonight. And the Raiders deserve to be here. They went to Kelowna, which is a very difficult place to win. And they did that, and they deserve to be here. And Coach Hawking and his staff aren't going to not take advantage of that.
Scoring plays in the first half. Raiders open up the scoring at the 2:35 mark of the first quarter with a 20-yard touchdown pass. Jake LeBerge to Trevor Pellin in the back of the end zone, 7-0 Raiders. They made it 14-0 at the 10:37 mark of the second quarter. LeBerge to Mayo from 18 yards out. On the next series, and I think the next offensive play, Kane Stevenson went 80 yards for a touchdown run, made it 14-7 with 10 minutes to go in the half. The Rebels then turned the ball over a couple of times, 2 interceptions. They didn't end up leading to any majors, but the Raiders got a single with 2:21 left to go in the half on a punt from Nick Hunchak that went through the end zone, or was recovered in the end zone by the Rebels. And then the Rebels, Mares intercepting Borden, and the Raiders getting a 9-yard field goal with 14 seconds left in the half to make it 18-7. And the Rebels offense was very ineffective in that half, Paul, but I don't get the feeling like they'll be panicking or in any way feeling like they're in trouble.
No, and I think at the end of the day, they're going to continue to feed the ball to Trey Campbell, but then they're going to settle Scott Borden down, and you'll see his passing improve. It's the Raiders' defense now that's going to be challenged. The Rebels are going to come out, and they want to win this football game. They feel they should be winning this football game, and they always said they're going to win this football game.
Since so like week 5, they've been saying that.
Yeah, and they're on a mission. So you know it's going to be a different half, but the difference is that this 11-point lead by the Raiders at this point, now it's up to the Rebels to improve their play to get back into this football game.
The Rebels will get the ball to start the second half. It is an 18-7 lead for the visitors here in Westshore as the Raiders get 2 passing touchdowns from their quarterback, Jake LeBerge. They also forced 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a turnover on downs. We will take a short break. We'll show you some highlights, and we'll be back with second half kickoff. You're watching the Cullen Cup Championship on BCFCTV.com, powered by RE/MAX.
TELUS presents mind-blowing pure fiber facts. Today's topic, crystal clear video chats. Ah, I see you're catching up with your brother, Jerry. Ooh, yikes. Look at the quality of that video chat. Did you know the upload and download speeds of pure fiber make chats so clear it would be like your brothers in the same room? TELUS Pure Fiber. Video chats reimagined.
There's a huge need for support for youth with mental health challenges. About 1 in 5 Canadians on any given day will be facing a mental health issue, and most of those experiences begin among teenagers and young adults. The Booster Buddy app project was incredibly important to us at Island Health. We have known for a long time that there was a need to provide help and assistance to people whenever they need it, wherever they are. Then we can help people get through moments of crisis, and we can help give them hope and a sense of ability that they can get through it. So young people who had mental health issues and their families, brought them all together in one room and asked them what they wanted to get from a mental health app. Most of the vision and the story and the look and feel were really driven by them. That's a tremendously valuable thing that happened with the Booster Buddy project. It wasn't something created in an academic silo, but it was really a grassroots movement that tapped into that lived experience. We were working with a young man with psychosis. He was really struggling and needing to come into emergency frequently because of the severity of his symptoms. I asked him if he would try the app to give me some feedback. When he opened it, his face lit up. And he said, wow, this is going to be a game. I asked him to use it for 2 weeks, and every day that week he would come by my office and tell me how the app had helped him. And he didn't visit the emergency those 2 weeks. I've had the privilege of hearing every day the impact it has on people's lives. That alone is astonishing.
This app kept me alive.
I'm 16 years old and struggling with mental illness. This app has really changed my life.
I wanted to let you know that I was in deep depression last year, but Booster Buddy helped me crawl out.
It's silly, but I actually cried the first time using the app.
With everything in me, I thank you. Thank you once again for saving my life.
I'd hoped that a few hundred people would install Booster Buddy here in Victoria, but since then, we've had over 80,000 people use the app from countries all over the world, and they are saying that it's saving their lives. It's an astonishing experience to be able to have that kind of impact, and I want to thank Coast Capital Savings for allowing me to be a part of that and allowing Island Health to reach so many people all over the world.
Coast Capital's role is we're the tour sponsor of the Canadian Cancer Society's Cops for Cancer tour. It's a cause that's really important to a lot of our staff. I mean, who hasn't been touched by cancer?
I've had a lot of family members affected by cancer. Knowing that all that I watched my family members go through when they fought this disease, you would never ever want a child to have to face that.
This is an opportunity that we can work towards a cause to make the lives of kids who are suffering from cancer just a little bit better, even for a short period of time, by sending them to camp.
Camp Good Times is one of the most amazing parts of being a Cops for Cancer rider.
Every single year, the tour actually gets the opportunity to go to camp, and it is a magical place.
I would just say, after you spend time at Camp Good Times, 2 things change forever. Your definition of what is courage is never the same, and your definition of I've had a bad day is never ever the same. And every time you're climbing a tough hill, you know this is really nothing compared to what the children and their families go through.
And that's what helps me. I just think of the battle they have to battle, and it's really not comparable.
Coast Capital's promise is to build a richer future for youth. That's why this particular campaign is such a good fit for us.
Having Coast Capital involved is so helpful, and just having a good, consistent, strong sponsor allows you to be a much bigger help for families.
Our staff do an amazing job of spearheading some excellent fundraising campaigns, and they're just extremely passionate about this cause. These kids are going through so much, and what a better opportunity to sort of help them through that journey that they're going on and build a better future for them.
TELUS presents mind-blowing pure fiber facts. Today's topic, watch and record 4K at the same time. Can't decide which of your favorite 4K shows to watch, Susan? Well, with pure fiber, you can watch and record 4K simultaneously. TELUS Pure Fiber. TV reimagined.
My name is Chris Gress, and I am the brewmaster and partner in Red Arrow Brewing. We opened in June of last year, so we've just passed our first fiscal year. It's a pretty exciting and fun time for craft beer in BC in general, and we're very excited to be, the first microbrewery in the Cowichan Valley. We didn't really want to do things the way that most other breweries or a lot of other breweries like to do them, so we really kind of stuck with some of our ideas of some of the beer styles and our original arrangement of beers, and some of them have worked very well and some of them needed a little bit of tweaking, but overall I think it's really kind of paying off for us to kind of do things our own way in the marketing side and specifically the merchandising side. A lot of people say that our merchandising program is beyond what is really kind of expected for a brewery, but this is a really significant part of our business that we're very proud of. Well, we're open 7 days a week, and people can come in and get a tour. They can pick up some merchandising or read about local craft industry or learn a little bit about the area. Growler fills, we do just an extraordinary amount of growler fills. We invite food trucks in over the summer, and now we're running our own food truck Wednesday to Sunday, and we're just going to start incorporating that with different events in the valley and tourism. We have a local celebrity, if you will, Dan Hudson, who's joined us to put up some pretty exciting products from the food truck. He's a great chef. He's been on some national TV programs, Top Chef Canada and Chopped, I believe. Just a treat to work with another person that's just so passionate about the things that they do and the things that they create, and it just shows in the product that comes out. I really enjoy what I do, and we're really fortunate to have the people involved that we have involved, and I believe I've said already, it's a pretty exciting time for craft beer industry in BC and tourism in the valley.
Welcome to Roll Focus Productions.
I'm Amanda and this is Mike, and we're here to help you create engaging video content.
We start with a face-to-face meeting to learn about your brand and the message you'd like to convey.
Then we work together to create a script that tells your story in an engaging and entertaining way.
Whether it's a standard studio setup, off-road with GoPros and gimbals, or in the air with our drone camera, we have the tools to capture the ultimate shot.
From there, we piece it all together in the Edit Suite, leveraging state-of-the-art software and a creative vision to bring your story to life.
And to cap it off, we have marketing plans to ensure your video lands on the timelines and feeds of the customers that matter most to you.
But why invest in a video at all?
Studies have shown that consumers are at least 64% more likely to purchase a product that has been laid out in a video.
And websites with professional video generate 4 to 7 times more engagement and response rates.
Simply put, video is the future of content marketing.
Have a first impression that also makes a connection and leaves your customers wanting more.
We've worked with some of the biggest brands in Canada, but our mission is simple.
Provide video at an affordable price for customers here at home.
So whether you're looking to promote your business, broadcast your event, or showcase your brand, let's get in touch.
Roll Focus Productions, video for Vancouver Island.
Welcome back inside West Hills Stadium in Langford. The Cullen Cup Championship game. There you see the score, 18-7 in favor of the visitors, the Vancouver Island Raiders, as they played a very sharp first half of football. They forced 3 turnovers. They got 2 passing touchdowns from their second-year quarterback, Jake LeBerge, and they forced this prolific Rebel offense into an uncharacteristic 30 minutes of football. We have some first half stats. I don't have individual stats, but I do have team stats overall. And looks like we have the Raiders with 105 yards of total offense, 74 on the ground, only 41 through the air. For the Rebels, 163 yards of offense, 156 of that on the ground, and an 80-yard touchdown run by Kane Stevenson, a big part of that. Only 14 passing yards for the Westshore Rebels in the first half.
Well, that's a little bit about the way Borden was throwing the football, and I think then wet conditions could be hampering both teams throwing it. But Scott was trying to place the ball in rather than pass it in. And
Raiders were 3 of 10 passing. Borden was 2 of 11.
Yeah,
so
he's been like that all year.
Was picked off as many times as he was complete to his own receivers. But you're right, Paul. His completion percentage under 50% this year, only 48%.
Well, watching him in games, he had the opportunity, had wide open guys, and they would either drop to him or he overthrow them. But in a situation where he had to thread the needle, 15 yards downfield, he'd put zip on the ball and would be there for completion. So he's one of those guys that is just a good football player, but good football players at some point just don't make things happen.
Dominic Abassi, Paul Short. You're watching BCFCTV.com, powered by Remax, as we are set to go for the second half. I was incorrect. I said the Rebels would get the ball. It is, in fact, the Raiders. Bryson Mayo, who will bring this back as he tries to weave his way upfield, and he's hit about the 30-yard line.
Yeah, good tackle there by Robbie Lowe's.
Those 74 rushing yards in the first half by the Raiders, they were well earned, to say the least. Xander Bailey took a beating. He had some tough yards, but the commitment to that running game, I think, so far has been very positive for the Raiders.
Well, you have to run the football at some point in a game like this with the weather conditions. And they've had all their success running up the middle. And they have been big gains, but they've been made it where it's manageable on second down. But now you've got to continue that because, the Rebels are going to be trying their darndest to stop that.
Handoff, right side, and that's pretty much the same way every single offensive possession has started for the Raiders. I don't know how many times they've passed the ball on first down, but it's got to be less than 3.
Well, I think the first couple of drives they tried it, but they didn't have a success, so they just went back to the ground. And this will be interesting. Second half here, the Rebels are always the second half, especially a fourth quarter team. And I don't know if they're doing the old Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope stuff in the first half and expecting to come out throwing some solid punches in the second, because they got a big hill to climb here.
LeBerge into traffic, incomplete. Eddie Nwunga on the coverage intended for Bryson Mayo.
Well, that was the start that the Rebels wanted, though.
The punt.
2 and out against the Raiders, and they're going to get the ball in decent field position. The way Hunchuk's been punting tonight, they could be starting inside their own 20.
As I said before we went to the halftime break, the Rebels had 13 offensive possessions in the first half. They had 8 punts, 2 interceptions, a turnover on downs. They did get a touchdown, and then the half ended their other drive. As again, the Rebels have trouble receiving the punt. And I think that was Gandire who, again, just could not bring that in cleanly.
Well, you can see on the replay here, again, it's a nice clean kick by Hunchuk, and it's got some height on it. And I think Brandon's going to take a look for the football, but I think they take a peek up in front before McNally Hardesty just makes a great tackle on him. But yeah, I think the players, because of the slipperiness of the football, are still thinking that they're playing dry, because you don't change how you do things just because it's raining.
It has been pouring all day here in Westshore. Every single second of this game, including warm-ups, has been played under a pretty intense rainstorm. It's gotten more so at times and less so at others. And I think right now is one of the least it's rained all day as rugby scrum breaks out here. I believe that was Enns Horvath, the backup running back, getting his first carry of the game, I think. It didn't look like
him. I didn't see Campbell on the field at all in that play.
There you see that's Aiden Enns Horvath at the bottom of a mass of humanity without his helmet. Trey Campbell getting his first break of the game, and a good gain, 7 yards. The Rebels going with that heavy set here. They've got Kent Hicks and Jeremy Druin was on the field on first down. They hand it off to Horvath, right side, and he's got the first down in behind Kent Hicks.
This is what you might see. The
And there you
second half
see-
can start to unfold, like with the Rebels just saying, we're going to start running at you, and they'll try to control the line of scrimmage here.
I mean, that would be absolute, as you see now. One of the Raiders linebackers down here, believe, yeah, that's
like Matt Hill.
Tyler Hill.
Tyler Hill, sorry.
One of the Hills. You know, that would give me incredible flashbacks to last year in the semifinal when the Raiders played that almost perfect game. They were right in it as the underdogs, and then when it came down to real crunch time, they just could not stop Jamel Lyles.
Absolutely. And in a game like this, the same thing, because I remember that game last year, they did a lot of bending. They didn't break, but they did a lot of bending. But when you bend, you're giving up yards, and then it becomes a field position game. But the Raiders have to, they know the Rebels are going to run the football on them. They know they're going to have some success running on them. They just can't allow a big play, and when they have that second down and long, they've got to make sure they step up to put the Rebels in a punting situation.
The Rebels' last home loss, October 3rd, 2015, against Langley. They are 13-1 in their last 14 home games. They lost the Canadian Bowl to the Hilltops on November 12th, and that's it.
Yeah, no, they've made this their home, and they try to make it difficult for visiting teams when they come here with the crowd, with the noise, and just being a tough good team that's going to say, we're going to come and punch in the mouth.
And the Raiders haven't won here since August 2015.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot of games between then and now, but it's been 2 years since they had a victory here at West Hill Stadium as flags flew on that play.
Yeah,
penalties, by the way, in the first half, the Rebels 3 for 40, the Raiders 3 for 28. So considering all the rivalry talk, that is a very well played first half of football.
And there's only, there was one roughing penalty, I believe, in the first half, and normally there's just 3 or 4.
Yeah, on a play. I mean, last time these teams played here in Week 7, there were suspensions. I believe Austin Lindo Brow was 1 game, and Baranu Yitno got 2 games, both from the Rebels for a sideline incident. And Charlie Cardalicia felt it was unfair. The Raiders felt like there should have been more, as you would assume.
Yeah, that's one of those things that doesn't matter who wins or loses those. There's going to be a lot of talking because of that.
1st and 15 after the penalty. The noise picks up in the stands. Borden pump fake looking for Greenaway. This is not a good throw, and Arabsky picks it off again. His 4th interception of the playoffs. Sean Arabsky is playing lights out football as he holds up the 4 fingers. This kid is on fire.
Well, that ball came out of Scott's hand really kind of wobbly, and it was just up for grabs. You can see here on the ball got away from him, and it's hanging up, and he threw that into double coverage. Greenaway wasn't even open, even on when Greenaway made his out and up move. They did do the pump.
That pattern was not there.
No, and Paisley was right in his hip pocket, so that wasn't going to be successful, and they should have thrown that out of bounds over his head instead of trying to force it in.
3rd turnover of the game for Scott Borden, who has officially completed more passes to Raiders than he has to Rebels. And the Raiders first down inside the 40, but they're backed up quickly as Chris Larson gets home for the sack.
Well, he dropped the ball. LeBeur's dropped the football when he got it from the center. You can see on the replay here, the ball hit the ground, and that just threw the timing off, and Larson had time to get in the backfield.
Not a great snap. Oh, this crowd is getting loud. You can hear it as they bring the noise on 2nd and long. Time, but nowhere to go. Rolling, throwing with a man open, and the ball falls incomplete as that was intended for one of the backs out of the backfield. And the opposite problem for LeBear's there. He had the time, but nowhere to go.
Yeah, there was good coverage downfield, but again, the play was designed for him to stay in the pocket. You tell by the blocking pattern. But once you get outside of that, then people start to move around, and your throwing lanes close, and also it's very difficult to throw on the run. Doesn't matter, you're right-handed or left-handed, it's difficult to throw on the run. But no harm, no foul for either team. It puts the Raiders into a punting situation where they can pin the Rebels deep, and for the Rebels, the turnover didn't really hurt them. And again, another skyrocketing punt by
into the end zone, and again mishandled. And again, the Rebels are going to start buried in their own end here. And
Belton made that tackle. And again, the punting of Hunchuk allows this to happen because he puts the ball so high, coverage can get down and field.
Andre Murphy had his troubles, and you can tell they're trying different guys now back there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Yitna has had a tough go today, so has Gandire.
Yeah, I think the Rebels might change up your return and put a block on now and then, and that puts a bit of pressure. And what that does is now the punter starts thinking they're coming after me, and he speeds up his clock, and he might not get the techniques into his kicks.
Paul, the Raiders have 4 turnovers, 3 picks, and a turnover on downs, and they have only turned that into 3 points today.
Well, there's your difference. You know, you've got to be able to
Here goes
take
Borden.
advantage.
Oh, he's hammered. Oh, Dexter Shea drops the boom on Scott Borden.
Well, again, Scott wants to jump guys, and I'm not sure why he wants to leave his feet, because he takes – and again, it might look worse on, as you're looking at it than it
This
really
is a
feels.
design
but this is a good play.
Quarterback run, and look at Dexter Shea come in at the end here. Borden not looking at – oh, boy. Couple of 22-year-olds colliding. Now here's Trey Campbell, and he's got a first down on 2nd and short.
Yeah, and again, I say, the Rebels have to keep the ball on the ground. Scott's not having the best success with the ball in the air. Keep it on the ground, get into scoring position on the ground, and then see what you do. But you can't turn the ball over. The more you turn it over, you're wasting clock, and Raiders at one point are going to score.
Rebels going to a bit of a no-huddle offense here. Not really a hurry-up, but no huddle. 6 minutes gone, 3rd quarter. Raiders lead by 11. Handoff, Trey Campbell. Short gain as Dexter Shea's got his coattails in his grasp, and that was one of those run-pass options. You could see Borden trying to decide what to do there.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's a play the Rebels run all the time. And they pull it out of the pocket there, and he'll take off the other way, because both of them are so dynamic at running back that it's like you've got 2 tailbacks in the backfield for the Rebels with Borden and Campbell. But again, guys like Quentin Bowles and Dexter Shea, these are the guys got to come and play today. They got to control this line of scrimmage.
2nd and 8 from the 40. Borden will throw. He's going to run now. Gets away from one, not the second. You said it there, Paul. First it was Quentin Bowles. Dexter Shea cleans it up, and it's 3rd down.
You have to do that. You got to make sure you're very disciplined when you're playing against Scott, because he's got the ability and the mobility to go left and right. He's got good speed. He's got good vision. He's just going to make a play.
Nice separation off a block by Bowles there. Otherwise, Borden, I think, had a lot of room.
And what this does, too, is that with the offensive line, they get a little bit demoralized that we're not having some success. So your feet stop moving. And it's tiring. If you've got to be chasing guys all over the field, it's tiring for some of the big guys.
Kent Hicks, end over end, out of bounds, keeping it away from Bryson Mayo. You are watching the Cullen Cup Championship game on BCFC TV, powered by Remax. I'm Dominic Abbasi. He's Paul Short. Thank you so much for being with us. Send us along a tweet at Dom Abbasi, where you're watching from, who you're cheering for. We've heard from quite a number of Raider fans actually so far this evening.
I think all the Rebel fans are here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. This will be the final junior football game played in the province of BC this season, as the winner here will head to the Prairies for the national semifinal next weekend. As you see Shane Beatty giving some hand signals to his defense as the Raiders start from their own 30-yard line.
There's a big series on this one for the Rebels as far
There's
as...
a pass. Rainey dropped it.
That's what they needed. Rebels needed that because he was wide open.
Normally so sure-handed is North Rainey, but he could not pull that in, and he had room. This is a nice touch pass by LeBert.
Beautiful pass. He might have felt somebody. You hear from some footsteps. He got hit pretty good by Robbie Lowe's earlier in the game, so maybe he saw Robbie out of his right eye. And
he would have been fine there. That's a big drop.
That's a huge play, because now this is one of those series that the Rebels can get back in this game if they hold them here and get the ball back in decent field position.
2nd and the full 10. LaBerge looks left, throws seam, caught Adam Finnick. And he has been a real spot producer for the Raiders this year. has not played full time, has not caught, I don't think, more than 20 passes this season, but some real big ones, and that's one there for a first down.
Oh, yeah. On the replay here, he's just over the middle. It's just a crossing route over the middle.
There were 4 wide receivers to the left.
And he's just crossing the zones.
See, Robbie Lowe's came in with a late hit. Or not a late hit, but a good
pretty
hit.
good himself.
Now, Finnick is a big boy. That is a huge second down conversion out to the 50, and they'll hand it off. Xander Bailey doing yeoman's work in this game.
And the ET on the tackle there. And somebody we haven't mentioned tonight is the linebacker ET. He's all over the field.
Edinosa Osarenko. I want to say his name because I practice.
Oh, man, I have a hard time pronouncing it. And that, I wish I could.
Osarenko is a very good contributor on this defense. First year, 18-year-old rookie out of Edmonton. 25 tackles, second on the team this year. Had 2.5 sacks and an interception as well. He's an athlete.
He's a great athlete.
Second down, Rebels blitz. They get home, but the ball gets away. It's deep and incomplete, intended for Rainey, as LeBert is put on the seat of his pants by Jeremy Drouin and company, and they dialed up the heat on 2nd and long.
That was a good play, and then Rainey was open just for a step or two, the ball just thrown, and again, that was the clock in LeBerge's head saying, I got to get rid of this football, so you might have that split second where you don't have that chance to dial it into your mind to say, okay, I got to put a bit of touch on this one. You're just getting it out.
Hunchak. Oh, he bobbled the snap. He's in trouble, and it's loose. Ball's still in the hands of Shea. Oh, a big play.
That's the turnover that the Rebels needed to get back in this football game.
It'll go in the books as a turnover on downs, but it's a bobbled snap. first half. So if you figure they're going to get about that this half, they've got about 9 to 10 offensive possessions left on average.
Yeah.
They're down by 11 points. That's 2 scores.
Well,
so I know that this game is miles from being over, and anything could happen. But if the Raiders control the football, this is their game to lose right now.
Absolutely. They are, the way they are playing, this is their game because they are in complete control of this game right now.
This play is not going anywhere. A quick hitter to Bryson Mail is going to lose.
It's like about
almost 5.
But yeah, the Raiders are the ones that are controlling this game. The Rebels, the field is tilting in the Rebels' favor this third
sure
quarter.
Is, yeah.
But the Raiders are still in control because they're getting that crucial first down. They're getting good punting out of Hunchuk, and and the only turnover they've had so far was on the last series when Hunchuk dropped the ball. There was a turnover on down. And they've got to secure the football and make sure that they don't do anything silly that's going to jeopardize what they do.
Draw play on 2nd and long. Xander Bailey has a nice gain. I don't think he has enough for the first down, but nevertheless. Looks
like he came about 5 yards short.
Those are big yards to gain that kind of yardage and not have to risk throwing a.
Steps out of bounds here. He had some area to run, but he just stepped out of bounds.
Well, it's easy from up here, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I do that every day.
You would have planted and spun back inside there, wouldn't you?
Okay, I would have straight armed 4 guys at the same time. But now again, another big punt. Nick's got to get the punt away, and conversely, the Rebels have to have a good return here because they haven't had very good returns on any of the punts tonight.
Hunchak bobbled the last snap, not this one, and that's his worst punt of the day. Still going to work out because of the bounce, though, as Gandire scoops it, spins out of 1 tackle, but not the next, and he will be pushed out of bounds around the 40-yard line.
Yeah, I think it was Todd Campbell there on the tackle. Well, that wasn't bad. That was one of those. Get upfield the best you can, but first you got to secure the ball, and that was what he was able to do.
3:22 left to go here in this third quarter. I think the Raiders are certainly noticing the absence of Rhett Williams. No slight to Xander Bailey, but Rhett Williams is a more dynamic running back, and he's a bigger, stronger back, and you see with the kind of men the Rebels have in their front 7, that's the kind of thing you need is a physical back.
Absolutely. And he's the only back to run over 100 yards against the Rebels this year.
150, I think he put up against them.
He had a great game. But I think, conversely, I think the Rebels could be struggling a little bit because of Christian Kroos's injury, the all-star center.
Sure.
Because there's things that dynamics change,
well,
timing
everything
changes.
All your blocking runs through your center, all your blocking calls on the line, he would be making them. It's a big change. That's that and your left tackle are your worst position to lose
Absolutely.
a guy for sure. As Borden runs, pretty good gain, brings up 2nd and manageable here, about 4 yards to go. Heavy set in with Kent Hicks. They run it with Trey Campbell behind the big man. And they will.
They're close, but I don't. Yeah, they might.
I think they're going to give him a good spot here.
Measurement, I would think.
I mean, yeah, they're going to call the sticks out here, Paul. I mean, at what point do you just stop passing the ball if you're the Rebels?
Well, you still have to throw it at some time. You got to keep you can't let the defense tee off and just say, okay, they're running, we're going to plug every gap and we're going to bring guys off the edge. They still have to do some of the play action stuff. They got to make sure that what they do is on the positive side. You don't want to throw the ball just to throw the football to keep a play alive, but you got to work it off of some of the stuff. And now that they're running the football, now you can work on your play action pass. And that's something that we might see moving in the fourth quarter. The Rebels faking the dives and the off tackle stuff to Campbell and throwing the ball downfield. They have a nice little pattern. They run over the center with number 23 Nate Skeet, which is very successful. So it's one of those things that at the end of the day, they've got to step it up here because time's not favoring them, but it's not desperate yet, but you got to step up your play.
Rebels were short. It's 3rd down, less than a yard. They will go for it on their own side of the midfield stripe. Well, that's the 50-yard line, excuse me. QB keeper, oh boy.
Yeah, I think the way the officials are running in, I think they got it.
Yeah, they gave him the spot. There was not a lot of push there, but the spot appears to be good enough. Now we're down.
Just push. That's all it is, and you know it's a safe play. The quarterback keeps the football. He's just following the guys.
Yeah, he got it. He got over the top there for sure. Raiders are on their longest winning streak of the season coming in here, 4 in a row. Rebels have the equivalent of an undefeated season on the go right now. They've won 10 straight football games, including their playoff win last week. And I mean, these are the two teams that are playing the best football at the most important time of the season. You can argue all day that the Sun were better than the Raiders, but
they're not here.
Not in this game.
Not in this game. And you got to be playing your best football now because you're moving on to the next level, which is going to be CJFL semifinals and then hopefully ultimately a Canadian Bowl. And if you're not playing, you're not going to have much fun on the prairies if you're not playing your best football right now.
I mean, in all my experience, in all my years, Paul, I don't know if I've ever seen a Prairie team play a poor game in the playoffs.
Well, you
know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that the Prairies, they fundamentally, they do so many things good. They know how to run the football. They've got great blocking. When they tackle you, you're tackled. And I find that's the difference. And also the other thing that I notice offensively in the Prairies is they cut block a lot more than the teams in BC do. And the defenses in BC aren't used to that, so guys are on the ground more, which obviously you can't make a tackle if you're laying on the ground. So that's how they eliminate some of the defensive guys, but just by cutting.
Rebels are going to punt here. Ken Hicks boots this deep into his bench as Deshaun Greenaway pulls that in.
That went out of.
See where they mark it.
Looks like it's going to be about the 32-yard line. No, sorry, the 27-yard line. But yeah, whoever comes out of this game is going to represent British Columbia against the winner tomorrow between Saskatoon and Regina. And it's a trip somewhere you haven't been before. BC has only won one game in Saskatchewan in the 72 years or 73 years this league's been in existence. And that was in 2008 when the Raiders did it. But they had a guy named Andrew Harris that ran for 370 yards in that game.
No disrespect to the rest of the players, as Bailey has a nice hole here, and he's got 10 yards and a first down and slammed down way out of bounds by Robbie Lowe's. I don't think I would. I was there. I called that game. And no slight to the rest of the guys in the Raiders, I don't think I would characterize that as a BCFC team beating the Hilltops. That was Andrew Harris beating the Hilltops. I think he went for 355 yards in that game, and he did it himself. And Tom Sargent, famously told the Star Phoenix in Saskatoon that year, we did everything we could. We just got beat by Andrew Harris, and he was right for sure.
And Andrew's a tremendous. He's got an opportunity to be the first CFL player to run for 1,000 and catch 1,000, and he's just brought that into the next level. But again, the bottom line is whoever is coming to win this game tonight, you got to really bring your A game, because any team on the Prairies is going to be ready to play. It's going to be on the Prairies. The weather can change in a minute, but you got to win these games first. And there's only 15 minutes left, and here we got the fourth quarter where the Rebels generally they come back to beat you in the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter, first play, Xander Bailey, about 6 yards. It is 18-7. Raiders over the Rebels. No scoring in that third quarter of play. The Rebels offense with a pick and 3 punts. The Raiders with 3 punts and a turnover on down.
Yeah, just settled in. It was settled in. They felt each other out in the first half, and they just settled in. Now we got our fourth quarter here. Hold on to the football, control the game. If you're the Raiders, for the Rebels, you got to try to create a turnover.
LeBears will throw, and that is too high. Well, actually, too far wide of Rainey and too high for the other receiver in the area as well.
Bonaplum that wasn't intended to him. It was going to Rainey, and I think Bonaplum coming up to try to catch that distracted Rainey a little bit, and the ball just sailed over his head. They're on the sideline now talking about that. Again, 2 and out. Raiders have to punt. Rebels an opportunity here to get some field position. Hunchuk's last couple, he had 1 turnover on downs. He fumbled the snap, and the last one was not a really good punt. This one's a little bit better than last time.
Hunchak again not handled well by the Rebel returner. And they'll be starting deep in their own territory. It is a 2-score lead right now for the Vancouver Island Raiders. And this has so much similarity to the game in Kelowna last weekend that the Raiders won. But they hung on there absolutely by the skin of their teeth. And you know Doug Hawking doesn't want to go through that again here today.
No, absolutely. But they've had that opportunity to have that, if your butt pucker, if you will, just to know that we're going to be in a game. And
Yeah.
we got something tonight. Rebels haven't experienced this, not like this, not in a big game like this year. So at the end of the day, they got to be thinking, okay, what do we have to do to make something happen? And they've got their offense on the field. They've got to get some first downs in this drive, in my opinion, just to be able to get a chance to win this football game at the end. But it's going to come down to the Rebels being able to move the football, and they've struggled all night doing that so far.
Deep in their own end. This drive starts and stacked up on first down as Dexter Shea and Quentin Bowles. Dexter Shea might be having his best game of the season, Paul.
Well, it's the
What a
best
time to
I've
do
seen
it.
him play this year. And Dexter Shea over the last 3 years dominated. But you know, I find that when I was coaching 22-year-olds, some of them would step back a little bit, and not from ability, but just a mental thing. I think at the end of the day, they're looking beyond junior football now and with what their lives going to do after this. And they don't want to get hurt.
Dexter Shea had 55 tackles last year, the most in the conference. He had 35 this year. So you talk about 20 less tackles as the Rebels run the ball on second down, and they've got close to first down yardage. And
Yeah, pretty cool. I think they're going to go for it here because they look like they're about 1 yard shy, 2 yards shy.
it is third down.
Yeah, third and about, two. They're going for this, you know, because Charlie's, this is his makeup. He's born to do this stuff.
Now we're going to get a
timeout.
Is this timeout Rebels? No, it's Raiders. Oh, that would have been the Rebels' last timeout of the half, but instead it is the Raiders obviously feeling this is a big play here. Third down, about 1 yard to go. Rebels inside their own 25-yard line. They trail by 11 points with 12 and a half minutes to go in this football game. And I've said it a few times, it's worth repeating. The Rebels have been trailing going into the fourth quarter 3 consecutive games against the Raiders, and they've won all 3 of those games.
Yeah, and they have that desire to come back. But this is the biggest, right now, this is the biggest play of the game.
Sure, certainly.
So if they don't get a first down here, the Raiders, you would think, are going to come away
the rain
with a field goal. And as the wind's starting to pick up,
you can see the rain
against the Rebels here,
being whipped around.
It's a huge down,
soggy,
huge gamble.
Third down play.
Yeah, it looked like they got, gee, boy, that's going to be close. I think, yeah,
it'll be all on the spot.
The line umpire's running in.
Did they hand that to Drouin in there?
They gave it to Drouin,
wow.
the fullback spot.
The big 22-year-old defensive lineman playing both ways in the biggest game of the season.
I think they're going to have to measure this one. Oh, they call it first down.
And it is a fresh set of downs. But again, Paul, the clock is ticking now as we're over 3 minutes gone here in this fourth quarter.
Well, again, the makeup of the Rebels and the coaching staff is not to panic. Things are going to unfold as they unfold. Just continue doing your job. Same thing on the Raider side. Do your job. Just
hand
like
off to
Dexter Shea did there to Ends North is just, or sorry,
Ends Horvath.
Sorry. Step up, make the tackle, limit the gain. Clock keeps running.
Enns Horvath, second year out of Drumheller, Alberta. Certainly doesn't get a lot of play in the offense behind Trey Campbell, but Trey Campbell's 22 years old, so he'll be gone next year. And I'm sure Enns Horvath has designs on snatching that starting gig.
Absolutely, and Aiden is a very, very strong player, strong runner.
2nd and 9. Every second down is big for the Rebels right now. Borden, middle, Campbell, he's got it.
That's
first down. That's a part of Trey Campbell's game we haven't seen today, but he had 213 yards receiving as part of his 1,000-plus yard offensive campaign.
Yeah, you see on the replay there, he was flanked out to the Rebels' left side.
Nice
just out
catch
the slot.
for a running back especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Right over the middle in front of the linebackers. Just get the first down. That's all you need to do.
Now we've got an issue with the sticks. Oh, they broke the sticks on the sidelines here. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Hope somebody's got some duct tape. Good night for duct tape or chihuahuas, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're look at this craftsmanship on the sidelines by the referees.
Well, that's part of you. To become an official, you got to also take shop at school, so you know how to fix things. A little drive going here, that third down gamble. The Rebels are, a little bit of life right here. You start to feel good about yourself when you start doing some positive things.
This drive started at their own 25. 2 first downs, including one, as Paul said, on a third down gamble. 10.5 minutes to go in this football game. Raiders up 11 points. We have not seen a score since 14 seconds to go in the first half, when James Parker hit a 9-yard field goal. Raiders show blitz. They don't come with it, and Trey Campbell splits through to the second level. And here he goes, near midfield. 15 yards.
Oh, he's a tough runner, man. I've said this before. When you Google his name, it's in public transportation because he carries so many guys with him.
He's working for the Capital Regional District down
That's
here
true,
in Victoria.
Yeah.
And Paul, I said this earlier, I think Trey Campbell's impact in this game will be felt in this quarter.
Absolutely. He's just getting warmed up. And I had nothing against his fight against the Raiders, but they also know that he's going to be the featured back at this point.
Well, I think you have to force the ball into Scott Borden's hands here.
But this is what the Raiders have to do. You got to limit that first down play. So now the Rebels have a choice to make. Are we going to put the ball in the air again where we hadn't had much success? Do we try a little trick play around that, with Kane Stevenson or Nate Skeet? They haven't really thrown it. Greenaway yet. They haven't
Greenaway
launched it up,
has one catch in this game. Another throw to him was picked off on a pump and go.
Yeah.
He has that one catch over the middle in, I think, the first quarter, and that's it. And he is the league's 4th leading receiver. Play action on 2nd and 9. Borden over the middle. Great diving catch by Trey Campbell. Oh, that's Andre Murphy. It's 14, not 4, and it's a first down.
Yeah, again, there you go. It just chip away. And on this one here, Scott had plenty of time to throw the football, so he's able to eye his receivers. He seems just sitting in. He steps into the throw, and Murphy's in a position to make the catch, and the defenders know that they blew that one.
Yeah, you could see the frustration on the face of Jeremy Chang, who is having, by the way, another great season in his 2nd year out of NDSS. We haven't said his name yet tonight. First down at the Raider 35. Campbell trying to stretch this play out. He's going to go down in the backfield as he's hit hard.
Tackle by Nathan Myers, just came zooming in to make the tackle, running downhill the whole way.
And Jeremy Chang, we haven't mentioned him, Paul. He led the Raiders in interceptions this season. The Raiders really felt like he was ripped off of an all-star honor, and so do a lot of players in the league. No player over the last 2 years has more interceptions in this league than Jeremy Chang.
Oh, is that right?
11 interceptions, and he's in only his 2nd year.
Well, sometimes when you do the all-star selections, when you're on a good defensive team, nobody stands out. Everybody's good.
That's exactly the Rebels' plight this year for sure. 2nd down, long pass, incomplete.
I thought that was offside with
yeah,
the slot
me too.
back down here, but that brings up the 3rd down and long.
Get another chance. McNally Hardesty.
And now Coach Karlicki's got an
Well,
option here.
you got to go for this. I mean, it's a 47-yard field goal. You're not going to kick that in these conditions.
He's going.
I think you have to.
He's saying punt. But
wow.
You might see Kent Hicks do his own little thing here because Kent's been known to do that.
Wouldn't this be just too obvious of a time to fake it, though?
Well, sometimes you get guys sleeping. Like you think, oh, they're not going to do that. And the next thing you know, he's running. You just got to play vanilla, stay in your lanes, don't overcommit, and just keep everything in front of you, and you'll be okay. Shoulders will parallel the line of scrimmage. And you got and whoever takes this punt, Bryson Mayo's got to make sure he holds on to it.
Hicks.
Oh, nice punt. I'd let that go in the end zone.
Mayo at his goal line. And he'll go down.
I'm not sure if
I don't think he started in the end zone.
If not, it's definitely starting on
Paul,
the 10.
that was a great drive by the Rebels. It ate up a ton of time, and it ultimately yields no points.
Well, now it's the Raiders' turn to do the same thing. And then if they have to punt the football away, they do it with not a lot of time on the clock.
7:23
the Rebels have to scramble
right now.
This is all about securing the football, picking up positive yards, and everybody just play for yourself within the team mode. Don't overstride. Don't try to do anything by yourself. And that's where the Raiders might have some success. That looked like a face mask, but it wasn't.
Andrew Bailey with a short gain there.
But, you know, if the Rebels now might be scrambling, thinking, geez, the clock's, and we're 11 points down, so they might be trying to overstand and try to do too much, and that's when things happen in the favor of the Raiders on a running play or, you know, maybe a pass play, somebody's open because somebody's trying to do something different than they normally do and not their job. This is a big down because you're going to turn the ball back.
Second down. They go deep. Incomplete. No flags. So Hunchak. Now here's an interesting call. I think the answer's easy to me, but do you take the safety or do you kick the ball away?
Oh, you got to kick the ball away.
Yeah,
the wind's picked up. It's going to be at your back.
And you can't give any points away right now because
Absolutely.
you have that two possession lead with a 2-point conversion touchdown is what the Rebels would need right now.
That's correct. And the wind's at Nick's back. I'm just surprised that they ran a passing play there because it was only 2nd and 5. And they are picking up some positive yards every time they run the football.
Low snap. Hunchak did well to handle that.
But again,
kick will be fielded at midfield by Gandire. He's got room here. Look out.
Sideline.
Brandon Gandire gains the sideline. Dexter Shea with a big tackle and the flag down as the Cullen Cup goes by our broadcast location and down towards field level. The Cup is in the house.
On this one here, a good catch. Finally, Gandire gets a chance to secure the ball correctly.
Well,
and
remember,
I think the block is on number 14, Andre Murphy.
Remember, earlier in the game, Paul, Brandon Gandire, on the 3rd possession of the game for the Rebels, had a punt return to the house called back, too, on a blocking penalty, as you see there. The Cullen Cup at field level as the Rebels trying to defend their title, go back-to-back, and get their 3rd franchise BC title. The Raiders trying to get their 8th and their 1st since 2013. The winner of this game earns a trip to the Prairies to play either the Regina Thunder or the Saskatoon Hilltops.
And the Rebels had a rough play penalty on that one, so they're going to be starting at their own 51. I'm not sure who went down there on the play. Well, there's a lot of concern. Obviously, General Manager Glenn Cook's on the field for the Raiders along with head coach Doug Hockey.
I can't see who that is. Is that a number 3? If it is, it's
37
maybe? Oh, that's Hunchak. Oh, goodness. As you got to look at the fantastic crowd. I love all the umbrellas over to our broadcast left. Those fans are not covered, but they are gutting it out here tonight, getting poured on consecutively for, well, almost over 2 hours now. I mean, this is a punter injured big deal, kickers, but this is huge, Paul.
This is huge. This is one of those injuries that changes everything the Raiders do from here on out on third down. I'm not sure who their backup punter is, but he better be catching some snaps now just to make sure.
I guess it would be James Parker as you get to join us inside the broadcast booth here. Dominic Abassi, he's Paul Short. You're watching BCFCTV.com. And this has been a fantastic Cullen Cup. There's no two ways about it. The Island rivalry, the fans, the atmosphere here at West Hills has really lived up to what we were hoping for. And thank you for joining us all season long on BCFC TV. It's kind of a new thing, something we were getting our feet wet with this season, and we're definitely going to be going bigger and better as we move on into the future. As Hunchak is taken off the field, the Rebels, with 6:12 left and an 11-point deficit, will start at their own 50-yard line. And they'll go to Trey Campbell. And he will have pretty good yards on first down, but I don't think the Raiders mind that too much.
Oh, no, the longer the Rebels keep the ball on the ground, they're going to pick up some positive yards. And again, you got, from a Raiders standpoint, got to keep everything in front of you, and you got to make the tackle. You can't knock a guy. You got to grab him and pull him to the ground. But the Rebels are desperate here, so they're going to try everything and anything in their playbook because they want to win this game or they're done.
Again, the Borden on a botched play here is going to run and scramble and pick up the first down. Unbelievable. That was a broken play, I think, in the backfield. Scott Borden looked dead to rights.
That's the
and he
ability
reels
this kid
off
has.
a first down.
His escapability on this play here, he's tracked, the whole play was messed up. So
He's dead to rights here, Paul.
And you get guys just taking wrong angles, arm tackles. And then you finally get a good tackle by Jeremy Chang, I think.
Tristan Muir.
Sorry, Tristan Muir. But again, you got to keep that guy in the pocket. You can't let him do that.
Borden's best play of the game, arm or legs. They hand it off now on 1st and 10 from the Raider 40. There's under 5 minutes to play in the Cullen Cup. The Raiders have an 11-point lead. You can feel the tension, and the Rebel fans to my right are tense. You can feel it. And then the Raider fans to our left, Paul, they're getting more and more loud, trying to get their defense fired up. This is a fantastic scene here at West Hills Stadium.
Oh, this is a good game, and again, a great finish. This is, good junior football being played for the championship of British Columbia.
The Island rivalry, the Battle of the Rock, coming down to the wire. A second down play here. The Rebels need 9. They're going to run it with their quarterback, and he's going to be caught in the backfield. Quinton Bowles cleans up what Mason Kelly started, and it's 3rd down.
Well, the Rebels, they're going to go for it here. It's going to bring up a 3rd and a long 7. Huge play again, a turnover here.
And I don't mind the play call at all.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Because Borden is mobile, but that's telling.
Absolutely.
On a second down, a big play, you're not throwing.
Well, I think they got to get some more action with, faking the ball to Campbell and running that option play. They've had success with that in the past.
Campbell's in the slot here. Borden throws for Greenaway. He's got it, but he doesn't have enough for the first down. The spot will depend, but it's short. That spot right there is short. And it is a turnover on downs. The 5th turnover of the game that the Raider defense has forced. And the Nanaimo fans in the stands here in Victoria are on their feet.
That was, I thought the pass pattern should go on a little bit deeper, but again, you're trying to put the ball in your best athlete's hands on the outside, let him break the tackle and get a first down, but unfortunately, the good tackle. Raiders take the ball over. Now that's in their control. They're rolling up onto 3 minutes left in the game. They get a couple first downs here. It's going to make it very difficult for the Rebels to come back and have an opportunity to win this football game or to make it even closer.
Wow, what a stand. And this Raider defense has been, I think, underrated all year. Doug Hawking has said that so many times. He feels like his defense is deserving of more credit.
Well, that's all. Raiders since their inception in 2005, have always had a very good defense, and they've built a reputation on tough defense.
Well, and when they hired Doug Hawking as their head coach, this is his first year as a head coach, but he's been a long-time defensive coordinator, once a Rebels defensive coordinator as well, but you had to know they were going to have a strong defense. Second down.
And there's that legend up there that if you're coming to play defense, you better play the Raider way.
Handoff Bailey. Gets a block. Ooh, he almost got stripped there. It's a short gain, but I think could have been worse. And you're right, Paul, especially for Doug Hawking. If you're going to play on his defense, your mindset is a certain way.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, you're not going to see the field. You're not going to fit in. They used to call it the Black Death defense, and that was Doug Hawking's staple. Former linebacker for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in his CFL career, a Grey Cup champion with the BC Lions as well, was Doug Hawking.
Also a BCFC champion with the Surrey Rams back in the early 90s.
Celebrated a birthday recently, and this would be one hell of a present. 2:40 left to go. Hunchak back in the game. The Rebels try to block it. They don't get home. What a kick by Hunchak. Oh, boy. Murphy can't field it. He's having a heck of a time. Finally gets on it back inside his own 20. Should be no yards there,
yeah,
but
called the no yards penalty. Looks
Nick Hunchak, forget about special teams MVP, Paul. He might be the MVP of this whole game.
Oh, absolutely. The way he's been punting, absolutely. He's the difference right now in this football game as far as field position in favor of the Raiders. You know, the field's been tilted here in the second half in the Rebels' favor, but Nick always gets them out of trouble.
That was his 12th punt of the game, and how many of them, Paul, I would say at least 80%, we've commented on how big of an impact the punt had.
Absolutely. They take off up into the sky, and you don't know if they're coming down with snow on it. They're so high, and this gives the cover team plenty of time to get under the football and also to locate the football. And it has caused the Rebels some problems, the weather as well, trying to field the football.
2:25 to go. Rebels down 11. 1st and 10 from their own 30. Borden, he's going to have to throw now. He's flushed out of the pocket, and he's going to be sacked. Quentin Bowles, the ball comes out, and the Raiders have it. It's a turnover, a strip sack by Quentin Bowles, and the Raiders take over deep in Rebel territory.
Wow, that was, I'm not sure why he flushed so early on that, but again, Quentin Bowles stepped up tonight to push some pressure on him. And I thought Scott threw this football, but the way it was dribbled on the ground, we'll see on the replay here.
I thought he was down.
I did too.
Oh, no, it was out.
That ball did come out. He just, a slippery football carrying it in one hand. He didn't get a chance to get both hands on it.
6th turnover of the game. 3 picks and a fumble by Scott Borden. And the 22-year-old out of Halifax is having a nightmarish end to his junior football career here today.
Yeah, it's a shame. Sometimes, you go a whole year playing the best football of your life, and then one game makes you look like
Raider
somebody
fans
different.
in the stands are beside themselves as Xander Bailey has a short gain. All the Raiders need here is 3 points. And this becomes a monumental task.
And I don't think
the
Rebels can stop the football or stop the clock.
They have 1 timeout left, Paul, I think. There is 2:10 and running on the clock. Raiders up 11. They'll scrimmage on 2nd and 12 from the 18-yard line. If they do anything but hand this ball off, I will be shocked.
Well, I think you gotta run the football, and you got to put James Parker on the field because the
they'll hand
field
it to
goal
Bailey.
will help you.
He'll protect the ball. And I mean, Paul, what a gutsy performance by Xander Bailey. He hasn't had much success today. He's got to be over 25 carries, and he has been beaten down, but he just keeps going.
Well, Rebels knew when Brett Williams, that he's going to be getting the football. And so they're going to key on him. And Bailey knew he was going to get the football because he's the main guy. So here we got a minute 45 left, and Parker in to try a field goal. Put him up by 14.
Parker, he's 1 for 2 today.
And he was good there,
2 for 3. James Parker puts his team up 14 with a minute 29 to go.
Well, I don't want to say that's the one in the coffin, but because you never ever count the Rebels out.
Never know.
But
I mean,
it's comfortable.
All they need is one play. We've
Yes.
seen Kane Stevenson take it 80 yards in this game.
That's true, and they don't run. It doesn't take them 1 minute and 29 seconds to run the length of this football field. These guys run it in 11 seconds. Well, get on the Raiders. You know, the Raiders, it's not many teams in BCFC history that have gone on the road and to win a playoff game and then a Cullen Cup on the road. I remember the vice president of the BCFC, Tyler McLaren, did that in 2005. He took a team, I think they won up in Kelowna for the Cullen Cup championship, but I think they came over here and beat the Rebels, if I remember. So now this is where Parker needs a good kickoff. You got to drive the Rebels deep. Got to get good coverage. Nothing fancy. Just keep everything in front of you. Dropped it into an area where there's nobody there. So Trey Campbell's got the football. Now he's got to make a tackle. Got a flag down.
Oh, look out now. Look out here. Get him down. And Trey Campbell goes down to the 35.
Got a flag down. That's probably an illegal block.
Brendan tweeting at us saying special teams and defense sensational for the Raiders. Cannot argue with that.
Absolutely, and that's what they need. If the Raiders are representing British Columbia, which at this point I think they are, they're going to go into Saskatoon and Regina, and they've got to be playing the best football. They've got to be able to move the football. They've got to be able to get points when they are in a position to get the points.
And we're not done here, but if the Raiders were underdogs today, what do you call them next week? I mean, and they don't care.
No.
But Doug Hawking doesn't care either. I said, Doug, are you guys underdogs? He said, I don't know. He laughed. I said, I don't care. We're preparing.
You're just playing it. You know, the teams on the prairies do exactly the same thing that junior teams do out here. The difference is they've got a different culture about the game.
They do something different. I don't know what it is. We haven't figured it out in BC yet, but they do something much different. As this pass from Borden goes incomplete. And the stats, Paul, back it up. The Saskatoon Hilltops have won 3 Canadian Bowls in a row. They've won 6 of the last 7. Regina was the other team to win in that stretch. The Hilltops have won 10 of the last 16 Canadian Bowls. And the only other teams in between that to win were the Vancouver Island Raiders 3 times.
Yes.
So, and then I think the Huskies twice and Regina once.
It's pride. They have expectations, and when they don't meet the expectations, people in Saskatoon or Regina aren't very happy, especially Saskatoon, because Hilltops are so big in that town. Another incomplete pass.
Incomplete. 73 seconds as all the Raider fans jam up on the fence now down at the lower part of the stands here. They don't care. They're getting soaked. The rain continues to pour here in Westshore.
Well, it's going to be...
And the Rebel cheering section has thinned out considerably to our broadcast right.
Well, you know, in Rebel, a lot of the faithful are hanging in. They're going to cheer their guys, win or lose. But, you know, one of the decisions the coaching staff of the Raiders are going to have over this next week is the 40 players they're going to take with them to the prairies for the semifinal game. And at the end of the day,
incomplete turnover on downs.
They seem to come out of this game with not a lot of injuries, so I think we're going to see a good representation coming out of British Columbia next weekend for the Canadian Junior Football League semifinal.
That'll be a turnover on downs, which will stand as the 7th turnover of the day for the Rebels.
Well, I think they're going to just kneel down here, take some stuff. You got somebody on the field. I'm not sure who that is, and that's
you have a gentleman on the field behind the play here, and he's going to make his way.
Is this somebody going to? Is this a fighting thing, or
his pants fell down, and now he's just going to be corralled by security, taken away. It's never great when you run on the field and your pants fall down.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not sure. Is he a Raider? He's got he got a Raider home jersey on there? Or?
I really don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. But yeah, there's always, in games like this, the emotion, some of the fans get really into it, and some of those guys that do this stuff, they have those long memories. That like, I remember when this happened way back in 2005. I hope Coach Hawkins instructed
Doug Hawking and Charlie Cardalicki had just shared an embrace at midfield. That's a lovely sign of sportsmanship and class there from those two men as they met at midfield to share a hug and a handshake as the Rebels stuff up Xander Bailey on first down here, but the clock stops now at 1:05.
Well, as the Raiders, you can't stop playing now. There's still 1:05 to go, clock running, but a turnover, Rebels get back in, they get an onside kick, boom. You never know what's going to happen in junior football. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, no. I mean, the clock's running now, but there's enough time for 3 scores still on this clock.
They're going to get called for too long in the huddle here. No, not quite.
When they get the play off, short gain. Don't think the Rebels, now we got a flag in here. Little testiness.
I think that's against the Rebels. That might have been against Robbie Lowe's, number 17.
Well, there'll be some tough emotions to handle on that Rebel side of the ball because, Paul, they've believed since week 3, if not before, that they were going to win this BC championship. Their coach told me almost every week I talk to him, we're going to win the BC championship, Dom. We're going to go out and we're going to win it all. And Doug Hawking gets the Gatorade dump on the sidelines as if he needed to get wetter.
That's true.
I think they actually caught Kareem Mayer, the defensive coordinator, with that as well.
Kareem
a former,
came with a very good
a former
game plan
Rebel.
Tonight. He is a former Rebel.
Kareem Mayer, a former Rebel and a former Raider, and he drew up a masterful defensive game plan for his group. Now you see the penalty yardage against the Rebels being marched off here. It is a jubilant Raider sideline as Doug Hawking and his group are seconds away from the most unlikely of victories, and they deserve to soak this in.
This is going to be a nice bus ride for these guys tonight on the way home. Kneel down 3 times, shake hands, and go celebrate. There's a nice shiny cup there for you to take home.
Clock ticking. 2 more wins, the chant from the Raiders fans in the stands. Laverge kneels.
Well, you got to congratulate both teams. They came down. There was a lot of talk about the rivalry and a lot of the things that were pulled out from the past. That was left on the sidelines. The kids played well. Like I said, there was very little rough play.
I'm really proud of this whole environment tonight.
Absolutely.
From the fans to the team executives to the coaches to the players. Incredibly proud of the way they showed for our league tonight as Jake Laverge kneels down. And the VI Raiders are Cullen Cup champions.
And I think at the end of the day, too, you know, a game like this puts away some of that animosity that's developed over the years between these two teams and just say, you know, it's all about football. Let's just play football, and the better team's going to win.
Raider fans flood the field for the first time since 2013. The VI Raiders are kings of BC. They're kings of the rock. And they're headed to the prairies as BC champs.
Good on them. That's nice to see.
Unbelievable. Nobody gave them a chance. The Rebels were too big. They were too strong. Their athletes were too good. Their momentum was too strong. Their head coach had too much swagger. Every reason in the world why the Raiders could not win this football game, and they didn't hear any of them.
That's correct.
And they will leave here headed home as the champions of the island and the champions of BC Cullen Cup winners for the 8th time in franchise history. And the Rebels left to wonder, what if?
There you have it, your Cullen Cup champions, the New Raiders. Thank you to the security that had you.
What a scene here in Westshore.
Lost their minds momentarily. Everything's safe and good to go now. Thank you, football fans. Thank you, Westshore.
Just an incredible football game here today. The Raiders got premier play from their defense.
It was a great season overall.
They got picture-perfect special teams. Their punter, Nick Hunchak, had the game of his life. He was a difference maker.
Some of the great players of the Rebels.
And the VI Raiders are back on top of the British Columbia Football Conference. A place where nobody expected them to be. As you see the Cullen Cup at midfield. And the Raiders about to get their hands on that.
Enjoy you and your family. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And thank you very much for coming out to our family fun game here at Westshore. Thank you. Thank you to all our sponsors.
21-7 the final score. Jake LeBerge throws 2 touchdown passes. Xander Bailey with the gutsiest of performances, getting pounded all day up the middle and just kept grinding. And for the Westshore Rebels, they never got it going on offense. Their one offensive play was an 80-yard touchdown run by Kane Stevenson. Other than that, it was Scott Borden having a hellish final game of his junior football career. Turned the ball over 4 times, 3 picks and a fumble. There were 3 turnover on downs in there as well. As the Rebels chant, or the Raiders chant, I should say, "This is our rock." And they have heard it, have the Raiders, over the last 2 years from the Rebels and their fans and supporters, because for so many years in this Island rivalry, the Raiders dominated. They were 23-0 all time in the regular season against the Westshore Rebels. And then it all turned over the last 2 years. And the Rebels, coming into this game, were undefeated in 4 straight. They had beaten the Raiders for the first time ever, and they'd beaten them handily on another occasion. And they were so excited. To finally beat their bigger brothers from the North Island. And the Raiders flipped it all on its head today. They're handing out now the award, Special Teams Player of the Game, the punter. Nick Hunchak had just an incredible game as he boomed the ball all day, and it's not very often you can say that a punter was instrumental in a victory, but he was today. There's no question about it. As Hunchak gets his award for Special Teams Player of the Game, he's the all-star punter in the league, and he was great.
From the Vancouver Island Raiders, number 6, Sean Arabski.
Sean Arabski, the defensive player of the game. Look at the emotion down there at the field. Arabski with 2 picks today. He had 2 picks last week. 4 interceptions in the postseason already for Sean Arabski. Now the offensive player of the game. Xander Bailey with the gutsiest of performances, and his teammates love it. His teammates love it. And why wouldn't they? Rhett Williams, the starting running back, out with an injury. And Xander Bailey took a beating today.
The Vancouver Island Raiders and the Westshore Rebels had a great game. Give it up to the Rebels. Come on, give it up to the Rebels. The team of the dreams. Future CFLers, the Rebels. Thank you. At this time,
And now,
the captains of the Vancouver Island Raiders come forward. Joseph, please.
the VI Raiders can hardly contain themselves
Congratulations to the Vancouver Island Raiders
as they will get a chance to get their hands on the Cullen Cup. The Vancouver Island Raiders. Your 2017 Cullen Cup champions. Unbelievable. Nobody saw this coming, except for the Raiders. Just incredible stuff as the Raiders chant. And this has to feel so good for those Raider players. And there you see, that's Colin Pippy, the offensive coordinator. There's Xander Bailey getting his hands on that trophy.
Thank you for giving us your time, your energy, your money to be here and watch a great game of football. Thank you. It was a super season. Came up short. We'll be back again next time. Thank you. Have a good night and drive safely.
And it is sheer jubilation down at field level. Nobody, and I mean nobody, picked this team to be BC champions this season. And they'll gather around for that iconic picture. And so many Rebel fans sent home bitterly disappointed today. Deafening noise coming from the celebration down on field level. And it has to feel all that much more sweet to be celebrating on the field of their island rivals. I mean, just shocking stuff. And I think we're going to send it down to field level as Paul Short is with Doug Hawking and Xander Bailey.
Here we go.
Well,
I'm feeling pretty happy right now. You know, amazing team effort. We traveled like a bunch of road warriors, and we've been doing it all year, Paul. So it's everything we expected to come out and have a hard-fought football game and to come out on top.
Well, it's not often a team does it on the road 2 games in a row, especially come away in a visiting place as the Cullen Cup champion. But you guys did that, and you've never done that before. You usually played the game at home.
Yeah, you know, in the past we played this game at home, and you know, we were on the road here last year, and our guys that were here last year learned a lot from that game. And to go up to Kelowna, and we gained a world of confidence coming out of Kelowna last weekend with that victory, and we just took it right into this one. We know we can play with any team, and we've been proving that in the second half of the year and getting better every week. And you know, this team still hasn't played its best football yet.
And this guy here, Xander Bailey, you had a great game. I thought you were going to join the Rebels at one point because they were always on top of you all the time. But you controlled the line of scrimmage. You ran the ball very well. How'd you feel going in?
You know, it was a bit of nerves for right off the beginning, but got rid of them pretty quick. I mean, they're a good team, but I think we proved that we really earned that, and we're the best team in this province.
You certainly are right now, that's for sure. So now you got a week to prepare for the champion coming out of the prairies, Saskatoon and Regina.
Okay.
Then the difficult task of picking the top 40 guys that are going to be playing in that game.
Yep.
So,
yeah, you know, we'll evaluate you know, our injury situation, who's beat up, and you know, we'll wait to see who comes out of that, and we'll get back to work and start looking at some film and get into a team meeting tomorrow night and get back to work Tuesday night, knowing who our opponent is. And you know, I've said all year long, we win these games during the week with our preparation. You know, Colin Pipp has done a great job all season offensively. Sean Roden with special teams. Kareem Mayer, outstanding defensive coordinator. I can't ask any more out of my staff this year, and you know, I don't expect anything different this week. We knew all year long. We're just taking steps toward our goal, and with our first team meeting at the beginning of the year, we want to win national. We don't give rings out in Nanaimo for BCFC championships and Cullen Cup championships. We give rings out for national championships, and that's our goal. So it's just one step closer.
Good for you. Go give those guys a hug now. Congratulations.
I'm going to join that party now, Paul.
We'll see you guys. Good luck next week.
Thank you so much.
Right. So you got it. Is that all right?
Unbelievable stuff here at West Hills Stadium today. Looks like we have Paul Short with Kent Hicks down there at field level, and this was Kent Hicks' final game of his junior football career. And let's send things back down to field level.
We're going to play our best football in the second half.
Well, end of the game, what happened?
You know, they planned for the weather. They planned what they needed to do. They knew that with the weather that we're having, that they just needed to pound the rock. I feel we did a good job of stopping the run. Offensively, we struggled. And the amount of times the defense gets 3 and outs like that, and we don't get any other production from offense, it's too much, right? Defense is on the field too long, right? So they wore us down. That's what they did.
And then 7 turnovers. Rebels turned the ball over 7 times, including interceptions, and turnover and downs. The Raiders just seem to hang in, and you guys just couldn't find that one ingredient to say we're breaking out. No fourth quarter came along this time.
Exactly. Like they kept picking at what they needed to pick at. They picked, and they broke. They picked, they broke, and that's how you win the game like this. When you got the weather that we have, and you got the skill from both sides, they did exactly what you needed to do to take down our type of team.
Absolutely.
You had a great year, man.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks. Thank you.
There you hear from Ken Hicks after his final junior football game ever. And we have one more field level interview, and arguably the MVP of this football game. Raiders punter Nick Hunchak joins Paul Short down at field level.
Well, great game.
Thank you.
What was the difference in this game today? How did you, coming into the game, did you feel good?
I felt really good. You know, we had a good practice week. It was pretty rainy during it, so this was a good preparation week for it. And you know, being from Saskatchewan, this wind, it's nothing to me. And
oh, so you are from Saskatchewan, heading back there next week, and so you're used to that kicking.
Going back there, you know, we're gonna do our best to go to the Canadian Bowl and bring that home to Nanaimo.
Good for you, but you can take tremendous pride in this win tonight. There was plenty of times during this game when you were punting the football and it was coming down with snow on it. It was going so high and allowed your cover team to get down there and make the tackles.
Yeah, I just thank my protection team, you know, for giving me all that time back there. You know, it really made a difference in my kicks this game, and our cover team's so good. We have the best special teams in the league, and there's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Congratulations,
Nick.
Nick.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next week.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go. In the locker room with your teammates.
Thanks a lot, Paul Short, down at field level. Congratulations, Nick Hunchak. Just an incredible performance from that young man today. A punter, the story of the BC Championship game. Who would have thought it? Jake LeBerge throws 2 touchdown passes. The Raiders defense forces 7 turnovers. And Nick Hunchak booms the ball all day, put the Rebels in bad field position almost from start to finish. Improbable, unlikely, shocking, a stunner, whatever you want to say. Nobody saw this coming. The Vancouver Island Raiders come down island and face off against one of the best teams in all of Canada, the best team in this province. They've won 10 consecutive football games. Well, no more, as the Rebels shocked in their own park, 21-7. The final score here today is you got to look at the only real positive play of the day on offense for the Rebels, Kane Stevenson, with an 80-yard touchdown run. Other than that, it was all about the Black Death defense of the Vancouver Island Raiders. So the Raiders now move on to the national semifinal. They will travel to the Prairies. Next weekend, they will play either the Regina Thunder or the Saskatoon Hilltops in a game that will determine who gets to move on to face the Ontario winner in the Canadian Bowl Championship game. Incredible stuff here tonight at West Hill Stadium. Big thanks to everybody who was a part of our broadcast tonight. Fantastic crew to work with down here at West Hill Stadium. Paul Short doing a wonderful job on color commentary as well. Thank you so much for being a part of BCFC TV all season, powered by RE/MAX. It's been a great run. The BC section of the season is over. Now the Raiders off to compete in the CJFL Final Four. The VI Raiders, your 2017 Cullen Cup champions and kings of the Rock. I'm Dominic Abassi. Good night from West Hill Stadium.
TELUS presents mind-blowing pure fiber facts. Today's topic, watch and record 4K at the same time. Can't decide which of your favorite 4K shows to watch, Susan? Well, with Pure Fiber, you can watch and record 4K simultaneously. TELUS Pure Fiber. TV reimagined.